y'all? It's the Cryptid Huntress. That was a brand new intro. Thank you so much to our good friend Kenny, aka let me talk, aka Star Fox, over at Star Fox Media. He made me that today. What a wonderful friend, man. He's so great. So we may be rocking a brand new intro from here on out. So you guys, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I thought it was really cool. And man, do we have a fantastic show tonight. I have remote viewed actually I've done, I think there's 3 targets in all for tonight. Coordinate remote viewing targets, blind targets. We're going to be covering some space age stuff that's actually pretty old and ancient. But to us, it's kind of space age, okay? And it deals with UFOs and spacemen and maybe an alien sleeping pod. My goodness, that's a new one. We kind of threw that one in tonight. Are these things real or are they hoaxes? There's a whole lot of disclosure going on right now, even in Reddit. Okay, there are anonymous posters putting things in Reddit and stuff. And this egg-shaped UFO is one of these things that I have remote viewed. Is it real? Is this a hoax? There's a lot of real mixed in with the fake, y'all. Just like in everyday life, there's a lot of real, but there's also a lot of fake. All right, so we're going to be deciphering some of this stuff tonight. You guys get the popcorn. We're going in. We're going down the rabbit hole. And of course, I have Barry Littleton here tonight. Barry tasked me with the most amazing target. We're going to be looking into the Solway Spaceman. You guys are surely familiar with that picture of a little girl, and it looks like she has an astronaut standing behind her in a picture. There was a series of 3 pictures made by her father back in the 1960s. Okay. And in one of the pictures in the middle, there's nobody behind her at all in this open field. And in the second picture out of 3, there's a space cadet standing behind her. So that was tasked to me as a remote viewing target by Barry. The data is absolutely wild. Okay, we're gonna go over that one probably first tonight. I think we should do that one first, and then we're gonna get into these egg-shaped UFOs after that one. And you guys, the data for the egg-shaped UFO is fantastic too. The story behind it is fantastic. Man, this is gonna be a good show. This is going to be a great show. All right. So if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows, my archives, and even see where I'm going to be, I am speaking at a lot of public events coming up. Please go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find an archive of all of my shows there, and in my calendar of events, whatever else you need, my bio and links to my social media and my shop. It's all there. Also, all of the data for tonight's show, all the remote viewing data is in my Patreon. So please go to my Patreon, become a member. I would love to have you there. And shout out to all of my Patreon members. You guys mean the world to me. I do appreciate it. And also I do have a shop on Etsy. If you guys want to go check that out, it's called War Woman Goods. All right. So thank you guys for all of your support. It is much appreciated. Okay. Oh, and I am going to be at a UFO conference. I'm speaking at a UFO conference, speaking of UFOs next, not this Saturday, but next Saturday up in Blue Ridge. Oh, well, I'm going to be at this too, the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. I am their keynote speaker this year. That's in March. But on February the 1st, on Saturday, it starts at 11 a.m. I'm speaking at this UFO conference. Are UFOs real? Yes, of course we know they're real. So I'm going to go over there. I'm going to tell those folks how real they are at that conference, and give some of my testimony. And yeah, I'm not here to prove anything, but I'll tell my story. Okay, I'll tell my stories. All right, so y'all meet me over there if you can, up in Blue Ridge, Georgia, next Saturday. Okay, let's get to our show, y'all, because we have tons and tons and tons of data tonight. My favorite word, data. Okay, so we do have Barry Littleton here tonight in the studio, like I said, and man, he gives me some fantastic targets. Tonight is no different. Let's get to it. On the 23rd of May, 1964, Jim Templeton, who's a firefighter from Carlisle, UK. This is over in England. He took 3 photographs of his 5-year-old daughter while on a trip to Burgh Marsh. Templeton said the only other people in the marsh that day were a couple of old women sitting in a car at the end of the marsh. He was shocked when the middle picture came back from Kodak. I bet he went to one of those kiosks like we had back in the day. It went back from Kodak, a film company, displaying what looks like a spaceman in the background, insisting that he did not see the figure until after his photograph was developed, or his photographs were developed. An analysis at Kodak confirmed that the photograph was genuine. Many believe the picture inexplicably showed a spaceman. After the photo was made public, strange things began to happen, including this man getting a visit by 2 men that could have potentially been men in black. And we'll talk about that tonight. Now, this week, let's go to the second target. This week, a former Antarctica worker, just an Antarctica worker, I don't know, it's like an American worker, yes, released a video on Reddit of a UFO being recovered inside a cave in Antarctica. It ignited a firestorm online and within the UFO community. There was another leak of an egg-shaped UFO in a cave in Antarctica, which possibly had been hidden for centuries, if not way more than that. We don't know how old these things are. And it appears to have been buried or concealed, and it was covered in hieroglyphics. Okay, what looked like to be hieroglyphics. It's debatable whether these leaks that are coming out right now are hoaxes or if they're real. And I think there's a little bit of hoax mixed in with a little bit of real. And so we're going to decipher what's going on. And yes, I do have, there are 3 separate targets for tonight. Barry has given me the Solway Spaceman. We're going to cover that one first. And so Barry Littleton is a fantastic researcher, cutting edge, trailblazing researcher when it comes to UFOs, extraterrestrials, cryptids, paranormal, supernatural, the spiritual, you name it. And so he has his own YouTube channel. It's called Barry Littleton, and his Patreon is Barry Littleton. He is a hypnotherapist. He does past life regressions and all sorts of interesting things. Please help me welcome to the show my good friend, Mr. Barry Littleton.
Boom. Hey, salutations, Jessica. Hey, thanks for having me on. And hello to everybody in the chat. I've been looking at going by, real good people. Yeah, thanks for doing this target. And this is an interesting one here. I think there's a lot of information we'll go over that is relevant, you know.
Yes. So. It is. Well, there's so much talk about UFOs being recovered and these egg-shaped UFOs and ETs. I mean, I even came across something that was talking about, and it does relate to these egg-shaped UFOs, but possible. One guy was saying that he had pictures of an alien sleeping pod, okay, inside the cave with one of these egg-shaped craft. Now we'll get into that a little bit. It's supposed to be in Antarctica. I mean, you and I both know Antarctica is a place of high strangeness and UFO bases, alien extraterrestrial bases, German UFO bases. We don't even know what all's down there, but a lot of high strangeness, right, Barry?
So it's a hotbed, definitely, you know, and I guess for lack of a better word, the undiscovered country, like a Star Trek movie, you know. I mean, the amount of things that are under the ice and going back just, you know, as old as this planet is, to really when it was a type 1, type 2 civilization here that is only starting to be acknowledged right about now, you know.
Yeah.
Although those structures still stand from back then, but, you know, we have all sorts of explanations for that, right?
Right. Well, you know, you've been studying this stuff for years. You sent me a video today. You sent me a video. You put it in the chat. If you guys want to go up to the very top of our live chat today, if it's still there, and it's on Barry's YouTube channel. I don't know if you released it yet. Have you? Have you released this one to the public yet?
No, I probably will do it publicly tomorrow, but they can all see it on there since I linked it.
Okay.
But Yeah.
Okay, we're at the top.
It's
At
like
the
it's
top.
2 years old.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've already been looking into eggs, the cosmic egg, and even egg shaped craft, and so this is not new to you, right?
No, no. It kind of goes back and connects with some of my experiences, which I encountered something on board a craft that were these various egg-shaped containers. And
Hmm.
I didn't know exactly what they were at first. It was towards the end of the experience that I actually figured it out. But I think when we start dealing with things that are also whatever it is that they're recovering there and they're doing this, well, I guess when we talk about that, we come to it. I don't want to mess up the flow of what we're doing here. So get overexcited, me.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Jumping the gun.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start off the night with our Solway Spaceman? Okay, let's get into that. And we've got a lot of people commenting on the egg shaped craft and stuff. Sovereign Cosmic Wildman says that one cop in New Mexico, that was I think his name was Zamora. That UFO was an egg shaped. Egg UFO's been around. Yeah, absolutely. They've been around for a lot longer than a lot of people know. Okay,
We need
and
the Rendlesham Forest
mhm.
and that whole deal. And there have
Casper.
been several ones that have been recovered that are these egg type things. When you really start looking at that, a lot of these might also be what we would call incubators as well. It's
Oh,
just,
interesting.
when you start dealing with creatures from another dimension or another universe, whether that dimension is right here on Earth, right next to us or not. But when they come through, and how they get through and how they actually manifest into this dimension is a whole nother thing. And that's what you might be looking at with some of those eggs. The wise old thing is that the inside and the inside are probably not in the same dimension. So whatever's inside, anyway, sorry, we'll get to that.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, Star Fox is here. Hey, Kenny. I guess he's the one who made me my intro for tonight. So thank you for being here, Star Fox. That's awesome. Okay. Well, this target that you gave me, okay, it's called we call it the Solway Spaceman. Okay, and I told you from the beginning after you gave me 2 targets for this, and can you tell the audience what the targets were, both of them?
This is another one of those prime examples of me giving you one of these blind targets and getting more than what I bargained for, or biting off more than I was intending to chew. What kind of okay? So that picture has always just captivated me since I was a kid. And the fact that it was described as a gentleman, whatever his first name was, Templeton, said that he didn't see that thing there when he was taking the pictures. And then just looking at it, it always kind of captivated me. Then as time goes on, sometimes I'll pick stuff up. Sometimes I get these hypotheses that comes behind that. But I thought that this thing, okay, to me, has an uncanny. That's a video I didn't put in the chat. I need to. I'm sorry. It's this Solway Spaceman has a very similarities to something that's current technology that NASA calls, I don't want to mispronounce the word, Valkyrie.
Valkyrie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Valkyrie robot. Okay, and I've got a video I'll link in there that's got pictures of that and links to that on there too. That's something you can look at. And the Valkyrie robot is supposed to actually help colonize Mars and the moon, if it's the case. So you see it's carrying things, and it's supposed to be trying to get somewhat more sentient. So when I see that thing back there, it looks so much like that Valkyrie robot. It made me suspicious that what we might be having is somebody in the private sector experimenting with time control technology. And instead of sending people, they're sending that robot. You know what I mean? That's what I kept thinking. And even more to the point, when looking at that, I thought maybe there was a connection between Otis Carr and Ralph Ring. And what they had together is they had created, probably a lot of people in the chat are familiar with the OTC-1 that they were trying to get patented. But they had another one that was called the inflationary space vehicle, and they had a patent for it on Google. and that patent is gone. You can't find it anymore.
Oh, really?
And what it was it shows onto the diagrams of this device that actually two people sitting in it, and supposedly they tried to use when they used it. Otis Carr had used it, and he wound up going in into the future, into this field. And when he came back, there were all these like daisies on the floor of this thing. He couldn't remember even being gone, so they wouldn't mess with it anymore. Anyway, that's one of the things about them, but you can't find anything about that. It was the anti-gravity inflationary space vehicle is what it was called. And it was based on some very interesting principles that they're trying to get patented. Anyway, sorry, back to the point. I just thought about that, and that type of technology is being sequestered, but also, how that I've been going on my channel and your channel, I've been screaming about this for years, the lack of transparency in time control technology.
Mm-hmm.
And right there, when I look at that, and so anybody who wants to look up the Valkyrie robot, you can look that up on YouTube. Look at it and look how much similar it looks to that thing. Oh, no, thank you. I didn't see you put that up. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And that's one of the earlier models there, I think, right there. I don't know how they might look now. But anyway, so so I was trying to see with what the data you got, did it correlate to something like this? And not that I was totally off, but it went a bit way beyond that. And to be honest with you, the data you got, I'm just going to say it. I thought it was damn creepy. It's not what I expected. It was not really, it's not pleasurable, but it is what it is. And I think it's worthy of attention, because there's been so much, and the first thing is, of course, I gave you that target, but, was it real? There was so much, arguments about that, about whether that picture was real or not, or doctored or not back. It's that, the data you got says something about that, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Okay, so here, this is the original picture. Okay, this is it. And it's a little girl. Okay, this is a 5-year-old little girl. And Annie Templeton was her name. And she's wearing a pale blue dress. And it's a little overexposed as white in the other photos. She's got bobbed hair. When using photo software to darken the image and straighten the horizon, the figure increasingly appears to be a regular person viewed from behind. But
oh yeah. Real quick, don't mean to interrupt, but that's one of the excuses. I've looked at that a lot. They try to say that it's like a sailor standing backwards, and that you can see like it's a ponytail coming down.
Mm-hmm.
That's not. That's some sort of a cord that goes into the front of that thing. You can see it. It's a good attempted explanation. They even put like some different things up, but it doesn't hold up. Of that being somebody back, and that being their braid in the back. And look at that. You can almost see a breastplate. Those are some big old shoulder bones right there, if that's what that is, somebody backwards. That doesn't hold up.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt like that. I'm sorry, but I just want to throw that out.
Well, I came across this too. I think this is interesting. It says there's cooling towers of Chapel Cross Atomic Power Station in the background where weapons-grade plutonium was produced. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with this, but I found that very interesting. Somebody thought it was interesting enough to point that out. So I just included that tonight. I think it's pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just got a couple more pictures. I think this is the daughter. This is the little girl here is a grown woman, and her dad right there. And this is her.
Much better haircut she has on that one. Much better haircut.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute. I think it's cute. I remember back in the day when we used to have to take our rolls of film, drop it off at the Kodak kiosk in the mall parking lot. Do you remember that? That's how we got
hour finish. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember it being an hour, but I do remember dropping off the Kodak or Polaroid. I can't remember. I guess it was a Kodak shack at the mall when I was a kid. And I always thought that would be a cool job.
Something about that is, back in those days, that's when I'd used some of those old Kodaks and Polaroids to take pictures around those cloud machines and cloud busters. And you know what? You could use you could put infrared film they had back then, and then you could put these ultraviolet filters on them on the camera itself, and you pick up all sorts of stuff. You know, and the reason something that was so much, even seems like even more simplistic in some ways than the technology we have now, you know,
Yeah.
because that's the way I found out about critters like that. I had to find out what were these things around those cloud busters. It looked like they weren't UFOs, but they were like some sort of creatures or something. They look like the same. It kind of reminds you when you look at pond scum in a microscope. You know, you see how many things you see moving around like that. Half of them that are invisible in the water.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like you can wear what are those ionized glasses or something? You can see the fish under the water. You know, like your blue blockers. Okay. I did want to point something interesting out. I love blue blockers, man. I wish I could find a pair today. I wonder if they still make those. They used to be really ugly, but now they're kind of cool. Okay. So let me just go over this real quick, because Templeton said that after the photograph was published, because he published it. This was put in a newspaper. I don't know where all they published this, but it kind of blew up. It went viral for the 1960s. It says that after the photograph was published, he was visited by two men who said they were from the government, who refused to show their identification. And they said that they worked for the government and they were only identified by number. After taking the men to the site where the photos were taken, Templeton said that when he explained that he had not seen the figure at the time, the men became angry and drove away, leaving him to walk home. Like they left him there. I don't know how far his house was, but that's kind of messed up. In September of 1964, Templeton dismissed these two men as frauds, saying, "It all looks like a leg pull to me. I'm sure the men were not security agents." That's what he said. But he said, it says in a BBC Look North interview and a letter to the Daily Mail, Templeton also said that a Blue Streak missile launch at the Woomera test range in South Australia had been aborted because the figures of two large men were seen on the firing range. He alleged that the technicians later saw his photograph in an Australian newspaper and found the figures to be exactly the same. Were you familiar with that, Barry? That's wild. So the same figure, whatever this is behind his little girl in this picture, the people identified this out of Australia, saying that two figures that look just like this were there at this missile launch at a test range in South Australia. And they aborted the mission. It's kind of like those UFOs that show up over nuclear plants and nuclear launches and missile launches and stuff, Barry. I guess maybe that's the connection with this atomic plant, this place right here, the atomic power station. Maybe there's something with weapons grade plutonium going on and it's showing up for that. I don't know. I do have the remote viewing data for it.
Yeah, I think, go ahead and get to it. I mean, what my hypothesis pretty much is bad anyway, negative, sucks. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that data sucks way worse than I want to throw this out. Okay, when I put out the video of the Solway Spaceman, it's been 2-3 years ago now. That's why I forgot to put in the chat. I'm sorry. But, I got attacked over that. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And certain things that I say and the things I address, people get upset and they don't like it. People got mad about this and all. It's not, it's this and that. When I said I thought it was the Valkyrie robot, being used time travel, but people got upset with me. I took several attacks on that video. I just tried to delete them and keep going. So, but I got to tell you, my hypothesis didn't suck nearly as bad as that data you got there. It's way worse. I mean, don't you think, kind of honestly?
Yeah, it's okay. I was totally confused as to what this target was. I'm just a channel for the information, so it's not really my job to interpret anything. And until I get done with the target, and I gave you the data, and you asked me what it was, and I was like, well, I think it's some sort of genetic testing. There's some kind of DNA sampling going on. There's genetic testing. There's something going on where chimeras could even be being made. There's some kind of lab. Something is taking samples from something. And I mean, at this point, I'm wondering, Barry, it just clicked. What if they were being abducted by something to get that little girl's DNA or the dad's DNA or something like that? I mean, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself here, but what if?
You know, and what I did, so everybody knows, what I did was I broke this target into two.
Mm-hmm.
One, like the first target was, what was the Spaceman itself? That was the first target. Okay, the second target was, what was the place of its origin? Where was it from? And I had anticipated that you would get something similar to what you did, but it was, of course, a little bit worse than what I had anticipated. But go ahead, I'll let you get to the data. I don't want to interrupt it. I want everybody to enjoy the
show, because this is weird.
Yeah.
Okay, this is really weird. Okay,
Yeah.
so let me pull the picture up while I go over the data so everybody can know exactly what we're talking about here. This is the target. Okay, it's whatever this figure is behind this little girl. Okay, the people, the father who was there did not see this person at all. He took a series of 3 pictures. 2 of the pictures, there's no man in the background. The second picture he took out of 3, this man's in the background, this person, this figure. They couldn't figure out what it was. Okay, he had no idea. All right, so this is my remote viewing target. And this is really interesting data here. It starts off, let me go ahead and just go over my sensory data. Okay, so sensory data wise, this is what I got. Growing, spreading, light and lit, concentrate and concentrated, thick, dense, green and gray. Okay, this picture is pretty daggone green, by the way. Okay, just saying. But green and gray. Okay, and so some of my analytic overlay. Okay, I immediately, before I even got done drawing out my ideograms, writing out my ideograms and figuring those out, I kept hearing liminal. Okay, so I wrote down liminal. I was picking up on some kind of growth, like a bacterial growth. So I wrote bacteria, fungus and fungi, super spreader. Okay, I wrote super spreader. I wrote disagree as part of it, but on point, a disservice, something that balances or a balance. I was picking up on like frequencies and waves. So frequencies and waves, bound and a bounty. I wrote bound and bounty. And then I started picking up on really strange information. I was picking up on a ritual of some sort. I literally was writing. I was picking up on a ceremony and a ritual is what I thought I was looking at. That's how I was interpreting it. This is the analytic overlay. So this is just how I'm interpreting it.
Go a little deeper on that one. A ritual. What type of a ritual? Like,
yeah. A little twisted says, isn't liminal time travel? I don't know. Could be.
Liminal or luminal?
Liminal. Liminal. Liminal.
It's superluminal is time travel faster than speed of light travel.
Hold on.
That's
L-I-M-I.
L-U-M.
Look like liminal.
Superluminal speeds.
It means on the threshold. That's what liminal means. On the threshold. That's interesting because I kept hearing that. It was so loud when I got into this target. It was liminal. Okay, so on the threshold, which is interesting, right? Okay. So I was picking up on a ceremony and a ritual of some sort. So I was picking up almost like voodoo type of data. I actually wrote down Papa Legba was in my data. Ritual. I actually wrote down Goatman. Goatman was in my data. Now, threshold of portal. Little Twisted says, isn't threshold a portal? I don't know. Could be. I don't know. Threshold could be. Okay, but anyways. All right, so I was picking up on all this ritual, like voodoo ritual data. I know it's weird, right? But I wrote down Goatman and Pan. I know, in a ceremony. Now, my sketch that I did was like a 1, 2, 3. It was a pentagram. I want to say a pentagram, but it's not a star. It was like the Pentagon, right? It's like a pentagram. It's just I mean, that would be a pentagram, right? Or a pentagon. I don't know. Pentagon. Yes. Pentagram. I mean, it was a five-sided figure is what I wrote down. I mean, that's weird, right? Because I mean, it's almost like, I don't want to say like satanic or something, but I was picking up on some kind of like voodoo, like kind of dark ritual that was going on. And that's where my stages 1 through 3 data led me right there. Okay. Now,
and I'm gonna ask you now in front of everybody what I asked you privately.
Yeah.
My first question to you: do you feel this target is alive?
Yes, there's some kind of life here. Okay. Now, yeah. I mean, well, it's got living stuff in it. Okay, it does, because I'm picking up on bacteria. I'm picking up on, I mean, I even wrote super spreader and a fungus and stuff. So there's something alive. Either the target is alive or it's got something to do with these things. Okay, because it's all in the data. All right, but let me go on to my stage 4 data. Okay, so this is where I started getting into something that really is alive here. Okay, because I was my sensory data was like cold, and my analytic overlay, I wrote down calculated on its own. On its own is what I heard. So I was actually hearing it, and then I picked up on like doubles and like 2. There's 2 of something. I wrote down double up. And I wrote down for my analytic overlay, I wrote self-replicating. Now, isn't that what like AI does and robots and all that kind of stuff? Yeah, it sounds like something out of a Terminator, right? So I actually wrote self-replicating. And then I wrote down amoeba, cells, clones, and twins. I mean, whatever this is it possible that, I mean, and look, and I even had a drawing. I drew what looks like, it was like one cell. I told you I kept seeing like one cell, and it was like, it broke off into 2 cells. So it was like, it was one, and then it, just like when a human being is made, okay, or like when a child is conceived, right? A human baby is conceived. It's like there's like one cell, and then it goes into 2, and whatever. Yeah, that's what I was seeing. Okay, but I said self-replicating. Amoeba, cells, clone, twins. I was picking up on some kind of like laboratory. Okay, I started getting to like laboratory data. Okay, and
interesting how quickly that came in. I didn't anticipate that.
Yeah,
it came in quicker than I thought.
It did. Well, I was also picking up on something that was hungry. Okay, because I wrote down hungry and emaciated. So something was hungry and emaciated. Okay, according to my data here. But I was definitely started picking up on a laboratory, a science lab, a medical facility. And the last part of my data, this is kind of scary, because the last part of my data, I wrote down eradicated, die out, and extinct. And that was the end of my data right there. Okay, so when you told me what this target was, it took me a while to wrap my head around it. Right? Because I was like, man, this is cool. But I mean, to me, it almost seems like whatever this is, I mean, if something's being eradicated, died out, extinct, what if this was an abduction of some kind, where they were taking the DNA from these people? You know what I mean? And taking it back to a lab, or, I mean, maybe that is some kind of cyborg back there, or an ET or something. Or maybe it's part of some kind of weird government program. I mean, I don't know.
What do you think?
It's something. My feeling, my personal feeling. Yeah, go ahead, Barry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, my personal feeling from analyzing the data and looking at what the target is, I would say that I think whatever this is in the background, I think that maybe it was there to do an abduction or something. And I don't mean like an abduction, like I do mean taking samples. That's what I think. I think it's taking samples. Maybe they're part of the program. Maybe they're like a lot of us have been part of a program where maybe the human race in the future is dying out and they needed to come back to get some DNA for cloning purposes. That's what
Okay,
I
see, that's what's going on with some of these eggs. Okay, the fact that these eggs, we might as well just blend this together. The fact that
Wow.
these eggs are being,
Yeah.
they're so susceptible. All these crash retrievals of them. Why is it
Yeah.
always these eggs? And in that way, it's kind of telling us. I believe that they're humans from the future when something like that does happen, or some parallel Earth where something's gone wrong, and what they say some of these grays are anyway. You know what I mean? And I believe that that's what we have here. And when dealing with these eggs themselves, all right, is that our universe is based on the spin, okay, and on the sphere. That's what our universe is based on. You start dealing with other universes that might be based on the crystalline or on the triangle or amorphous metals and things of that nature. When they come into this universe, they're going to come in spherical type of a whether it be a craft or dimension or whatever. And that takes us even into that whole quantum hologram thing. How some of these things we're seeing, some of these ships are like quantum holograms to a degree. But anyway, that right there, look at that. That looks like an incubator. That's Rendlesham Forest, right?
Yes. Yeah. I got this. I stole this off your video. Okay. I took some screenshots. I hope you don't mind. Okay.
I'm honored because I just do the same thing. But
thank you.
But I actually at one of these conferences and met somebody that used to kind of be around in these communities. They disappeared, but they had come to me after one of my presentations and told me that their father was involved in the Rendlesham Forest thing. And they had some missing time and other encounters of their own. And they thought it was because their father was connected to that and had mentioned that there was some type of a glow to that thing. And it did something to the people that were exposed to that light and to that vibration of that craft, those soldiers you see there. So, I mean, it's just, and then something else I want to throw in there. Sorry, we can't get too far away from the spaceman. But each one of these eggs, when you watch those videos and things, they're described as having these symbols on them. And those are self-activating and self-replicating symbols. Same as seen on some of the debris from what AKA Roswell or whatever, Socorro crash or Cape Girardeau. All those crashes were supposedly you had these metal with the different symbols on them. And we can take it back to something you and I talked about a few weeks ago, which was the Chad and the Carrot Dragonfly drones. And I showed you that video I had, and I've got the pictures of like on that box on that thing, and also on the wings, you've got these symbols that just coincidentally look like the stuff that were the leaked documents from the Carrot Institute.
Yeah.
Which is reverse engineering and back engineering, And so the thing would be with these egg things we're seeing right now, there's been several of them recovered. Where are they? What are they? Where are they? And what are they doing with them? Where are they being kept? What back engineering have they got off this? All of this needs to come out now, not just little bits of stuff. We need to really get to the meat of this because we're running out of time, whatever's going on this planet. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, well, actually, this is from a clip from, it's a still shot or a screenshot out of a video that was leaked on Reddit. It was alleged. Okay, like these are anonymous posters, by the way. Okay, whoever's putting all these up, let's see if I can pull. Let's just skip over to this one real quick. Okay, this is the egg-shaped UFO stuff. Let me see. I'm going to share my screen real quick because this is weird. This is where all this is coming from. Okay. There's somebody that keeps posting on Reddit. Okay. Now, Barry, I said in the beginning of the show tonight, I think there's a lot of real stuff mixed with fake stuff. Now, when you're dealing with people who claim to be working with our government, with our military, I know people that work in intelligence, and I know that they are wonderful people. But come on, like a lot of times their job is to throw the general public off. Okay, they're not always going to tell us the truth about stuff. They're going to mix in a little bit of truth with a little bit of not truth. And they're going to make it look real. And then we're all going to be chasing our tails and arguing over it. And everybody's trying to figure out what's what. Okay, but okay, so this is from a 4chan board. Okay, This is some of the some of the pictures right here. Let's see if I can blow it up. It's kind of big. This is allegedly an egg-shaped UFO, like a craft that was found in a cave in Antarctica. And the military said, okay, they say the military, some of these guys were sent in, Delta Force, I think is what they're called, were sent in to retrieve these.
Chuck Norris and Barry Bostwick, the Delta Force. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, there's been actual testimony recently.
Yeah, I was just teasing.
Yeah, right. There's some legitimacy to this, okay. But anyways, there's supposed to be, hieroglyphics on the walls or petroglyphs. Now this is what I think may not be real. I mean, I know that these egg-shaped craft are real, but I don't know. They're claiming that this is like an alien sleeping pod or something, okay, and that there's supposed to be some kind of like gray asleep in this sleeping pod, and I don't know. I mean, this is up for discussion. I have not remote viewed this. This was not one of my targets, but I do have some friends that I consult with, and they're not so sure about that. Okay, about that. But all right, let's see if there's anything else on here. A lot of cussing and stuff. Okay, so I'm not going to pull all that up. But this is, somebody put this in a filter, of course, and this is very interesting, right? I know, right? Okay, stop sharing.
Spider Sits goes off on those ones, man.
I know, right? Well, this is supposed to be a still shot, a screenshot of if the video's on that website. If we scroll down, we could find it. But this is a screenshot. That thing in the middle right here. Let's see about where my finger is right here, but straight over. That is actually supposed to be one of these egg-shaped UFOs being hoisted up into a helicopter. Right there. So
similar to the one that they put out a few days ago, or I guess a week ago or something. That was the one that was in Washington. Was that supposed to be in Washington or somewhere? They were picking that thing up with a tether.
I don't know. The only ones I know about were in Antarctica. Okay, so I'm not sure. They found one in Washington too. That's where Mel's
Washington, but there was another one. There's another one because when you told me about this, I looked it up, and when I started getting this other one, and the ones you sent me were different than the other ones. Mm-hmm. And there's one that everybody's talking about, like Nick Pope, and everybody's talking about it right now. And it's supposed to be, I think it's connected to, what's the guy's name? Elizondo. He's been saying something about it, and it's supposed to be a major deal in terms of you got whistleblowers that are coming public about it, and the footage itself. But the footage was put up anonymously on something. So I think it's kind of tying together with what you're saying, and there's been like a couple of these things supposedly recovered. Then again, that takes us into something like, what is it that's, first of all, why are they, it shows that they're definitely capable of more than just human error, but as far as these craft, but also they're susceptible to something. And it makes me start thinking about stuff like what would be called the Hauser, the Tesla Hauser scalar interferometer. interferometer, interferometer. And what that really is basically when you and I were young kids, they had the Reagan Star Wars program. Remember that? Mm-hmm. That's using those scalar interferometers. And you have technology like that can be used to not just shoot those things down, but also can be made as a repulsing shield, like a defense shield as well. So with stuff like that, when you have little technology like that, or things that are on acoustic levels and things that might be able to bring some of these craft down, that are beings that are at least, maybe a little more advanced than us, but not to the level that they can stop that. It's just, again, I'm throwing this out as food for thought. There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on.
Like, for example, when I saw that Valkyrie robot and your data, I kept thinking about Inner Earth and this laboratory being Inner Earth, because we didn't get to the second part of the data, did we?
Yeah, no, we're about to get to it. Yeah, we're just kind of skipping around because it's wild that these are actually connected. Yeah, I know. We're all over the place. We can't keep our thoughts straight without jumping around. Well, but that's beautiful though, because we make these connections, and so we just jump to it. We cut to the chase. We cut to the point, Barry, you and I, and that's why I think most people can appreciate that for the most part. But yeah, that's really cool that you made this connection to the Valkyrie robot too, with this thing. Now that's not my only target. You gave me 2 targets pertaining to this. Two targets, and so I'll get to I guess we can go to the next target, because you said that this is actually the origin of where this thing came from, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I was hoping you would say, "Oh, hey, it's NASA." It wasn't. It wasn't that easy, was it, my friend?
No. I'll just be very straightforward and very honest about this. This next target, it was just a whole lot more of the genetic lab data. Okay. It was a whole lot of genetic testing, DNA samples, and I was picking up on I wrote lab monkey down and stuff. Like I was seeing like monkeys in labs and like things being tested and like chimera stuff going on. Okay. Let's just get into it. Okay, so this is the origin of whatever this spaceman is. Okay, this origin. Of course, I had a cube in this data too, and my drawing is actually a cube. Okay, cubes come up a lot. Okay, so some of my sensory data, I wrote down hard and cube, box, square, mellow, calm, grown, rectangle, fantastic, wild, genetic, and artificial. Genetic and artificial were both in my data for my sensory data. Okay, so for my analytic overlays, this is like me trying to interpret my sensory data, and all this information's flooding in. So I wrote down like the interpretations of what I was sensing. Okay, so I wrote cubicle, edges, meet your maker. I wrote meet your maker. And then I wrote down marker. I wrote Chilio. Maybe it was Cheerio, because they're in the UK, right? Cheerio. So I wrote down Chilio. I thought I heard Chilio, but it was probably Cheerio. Okay, I wrote down man-made lab, or lab samples. I wrote down the word substrate. In the wild, I heard like in the wild. It's like from some commercial. In the wild, I heard that. So I wrote in the wild, sample product, and I was picking up on beef. So I heard like that Biggie Small song is like, "What's beef?" So like I was writing down like beef. What's beef?
As in cattle. As in cattle
yes,
mutilation,
cattle.
probably.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, cattle.
Yeah.
Beef. I wrote beef down. So cattle. Yep. And then I wrote, I had gene splicing, and I wrote down Lord Hanneman. That's like that Monkey King, right?
Yeah.
Lord Hanneman. So that could be like a monkey, man monkey, right? It's kind of like a human monkey kind of thing, almost like a Bigfoot, a Sasquatch kind of, right?
You know what's interesting about? Okay, 1 second. Okay. When it comes to Lord Hanneman, it said, there's those huge footprints. They're supposed to be when he jumped from mountain to mountain. Mm-hmm. And in one of those footprints, there's at night, there is a group that comes around that supposedly worships and has ceremonies at that big foot, and they call them the Vanara. And the Vanara are supposed to be these almost like Sasquatch type, but they have these tails. Lord Hanneman had a tail. So they're a little bit different, whatever they are, but they supposedly worship these big footprints. And when you're saying something like what you just said, they're throwing that in, that's just what comes to my mind, okay? Mm-hmm. Not saying it's correct, but if they're performing experiments, or are those experiments, or what? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, so I wrote down Lord Hanneman, gene splicing, genetic testing, DNA samples, and monkey. I wrote down monkey
again
as well. Again, yeah. So I was getting like a lot of monkey data and lab testing with monkeys and DNA samples and genetic splicing and slicing.
Man, when I was reading, I don't read it, when I was reading that date, I was up there tripping out. I was like, oh, man, God, come on. And then I was seeing that. I was seeing everything. I was seeing that damn ape that they were sending off Caesar, that they were sending off to the moon or whatever. And the next thing you know, Charlton Heston is looking at the Statue of Liberty in the ocean. Remember, this reminds me of Planet of the Apes type of stuff. It's not so far off, and we start thinking about the rock apes and about those soldiers, those supposedly rock ape soldiers and stuff like that. I mean, it ties right into that. Even all the way going down to, if you remember the movie American Werewolf in London, he was having nightmares. One of those nightmares where those werewolves came into his crib dressed as whatever you call that word now, the YouTube word you have to use. But they came in dressed as them, and they assassinated his family. Remember that? Or they unlived his family. So I'm getting better. Yeah. But that was in the middle of American Werewolf in London, a nightmare he'd had. So these things are, and then knowing what we know now through the data and the other targets you've had, this laboratory you're talking about right here, I'm glad to hear there was something man-made about it, because these things go back millions of years, some of these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is this a newer one? Is this an older one? Or which one is this one? Did you pick up any extraterrestrial type of stuff with it, or non-humans in the terms of maybe in control or something like that?
Okay. Well, let's go to the second page. Let's go to stage 4, because I started picking up. Well, it was just more, I got mad doing this target because I was seeing stuff that just made me really mad. And I wrote it down. I was like, I guess we'll go here. Okay. Because what I was seeing was animals, humans. It was weird. I was seeing things in cages. Okay. Beings in cages. They were caged, and I wrote down biolab, lab monkey, lab tested animals, and I wrote down Fauci. Okay. And then I started Fauci, like the guy who was like in charge of all the shots and stuff that, back in 2020, that guy. And so what I was seeing was like, there's something that I was told that like he did these experiments with like beagles and dogs, and like he was torturing animals basically. So I was seeing a lot of animal torture is what I was seeing. I was seeing torture, and I just got really, really mad, and I was like, God, what is this target? And I figured when I got done with this target, I was like, well, maybe this is like some kind of SSP thing, and there's like people being tortured or something. Like, I don't know. That was kind of the vibe I was getting. Whatever this was, there was a lot of testing going on, and there was torture involved. Okay. I had to like calm down from this one when I got done. But I was feeling, I wrote down like lonely and like heartache and melancholy and far reach. Like I had to like end this target because I was getting mad because I was seeing caged animals and stuff that were being tested on, and it was not good. Okay. So I ended this target there because there was a lot of suffering.
Question. Do you feel that this installation was subterranean, or maybe, maybe not? Or...
I don't know. I didn't really pick up on that, so I don't know. It didn't say. I don't know if it was underground or not. I mean, I was picking up on a cube. I don't know. But it was definitely a lab. I mean, I was definitely picking up on some sort of a facility. Dan says the Ukraine has labs like this. I mean, I think there's labs from all this remote viewing that I've done. It's we come across underground facilities a lot of times, and it doesn't have to be physically underground, but stuff that's underground. It's probably right in front of our eyes, but we just don't know it. It's probably out in the open, but we just don't know what they're doing there. So yeah, it was rough. It was rough. But that was this target. You asked what the origin of this thing is up here, and it's just got a whole lot of lab data, a whole lot of genetic splicing, DNA sampling, and it's wild because
ultimately that's what's inside of that thing. That's what's inside of that. That thing is some sort of what we would technically call a cyborg. You were picking up, what was it, Pan type of genetics or something like that?
Goat man.
Man. Yeah, Goat man with that thing. I mean,
I picked up on 2 chimeras. I picked up on Pan, and I also picked up on Lord Hanneman. And so that's like a human monkey hybrid. I picked up on a man goat hybrid as well for both these targets. Is that not wild?
That's very wild. And
Yeah.
it makes you wonder, what does that thing look like underneath that suit?
Yeah.
I mean, I was really, to be honest with you, I thought I was gonna get off lucky on this. And he's gonna tell me it was some circuits, some AI, straight up. That's what but it was never that easy, is it? I was like, surely it'll just be some circuits, and it'll be the Valkyrie robot, or something similar. But no, it wasn't that easy at all.
Yeah. Avena Sativa says it sounds like Dulce. But there's many places like that. That's correct. Yeah, there's plenty of places like that. That Dulce is not a place that I would like to I don't want to review that place. It seems like a lot of suffering goes on there. A lot of genetic experiments go on there, and yeah, don't ever give me those targets. I don't want that one. But this is similar, I guess. I mean, because that's what I was picking up on.
Well, I mean, in all due respects, it's not all too unlike where the missing 411 people are going.
Oh my gosh. Good connection there, because the data said that people are being kidnapped. They're being taken underground to some kind of facility and experimented on, and then being disposed of.
And maybe that's what was about to go down there.
But they got a picture of them, so they couldn't take them. I mean, I don't know. Well, there's also cloning involved, because remember in the first target, I got splicing and cloning. So maybe they're getting average, everyday, normal people and just cloning. This actually lines up also with the robot grandma out of Mount Shasta too, where that grandma woke up. She said that after the grandson was kidnapped by the robot grandma, and weeks later, she was babysitting him after they got him home and everything was okay. He started telling her the story of the other grandma that looked just like her, but it wasn't her because it looked like a robot. And she said, well, what do you mean by robot? He goes, well, she was controlled with a remote control. What he said, her eyes were not right. And she started thinking back. She said, oh my God, almost 1 year to the date. 1 year ago, she woke up and she was camping in that same camping area and woke up outside of her tent on the ground with her face to the ground with puncture wounds on her back of her neck with blood coming out of them. And she didn't know how she got there. And her friends who were in a camper beside her, the husband of her two friends, he woke up with puncture wounds on the back of his neck with blood dripping down his neck and didn't know how he got that. So, I mean, is there some kind of weird, there is some kind of weird program going on where people are getting abducted, getting DNA samples taken, and probably getting cloned.
By robot grandmothers that are remote controlled, right? I mean, was it like a TV remote control, or was it?
Well, the kid wasn't, but like 3 or 4 years old. He was young. Yeah, he was a little kid, and that's how he described it. Yeah.
It reminds me of a show, a movie that, of course, probably nobody in chat even remember this one. It was called Heartbeats. It's probably about 1982, with the guy that broke his neck, and the comedian from Taxi. What's his name? Andy something. Anyway, sorry, but they were kind of like these remote controlled. Anyway,
robots, man. I mean, we're talking about robots too. Maybe. I mean, we're talking about the Valkyrie robot.
It's interesting because robots. We use the terms now AI, and I'm sorry, I'm getting sick of that term. And before I got sick of CGI, then that went away, and now it's AI. But in reality, back in the 80s, we called these late 70s. These were called robots. These things, and it was advanced robotics. And I think that we're getting away from kind of what that is a little, just calling it AI, but really it's, what these things are evolving to, and I'm starting to see more and more of these human life robots. At first it was or Android things. At first there was only a couple of them, like was it Venabot? And she was a black woman.
Oh yeah.
That's like, she's old school now. You got ones that are much more advanced than her now. And once they put this brain of Google and they map a brain for Google, which they're trying to do. Okay. And that's what part of that targeted dream incubation is that they're trying to do. Once they do that, I mean, it's really interesting to see where this is going to go, you know?
It is. It's a little scary, just a tiny bit. And a cat chaser, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate you so much. You know, I actually grabbed this off of one of your videos too, and it's showing what looks like an ancient astronaut, maybe next to a regular astronaut. I just wanted to make this connection too, because last week we talked about the Falkville Metal Man. Okay, and that's out of Alabama. This was one of my remote viewing targets too.
Oh, wow.
And
is that the one you said you were picking up like fireman stuff on it?
Yes, firefighter. Well, yeah, my data included fire department. And that's really interesting because if you look at this picture, that's a fire suit right there. That's a fire, non-flammable type of a suit a firefighter uses when they're fighting fires back then. This is 1971, I think, or 73, 74. But this man, the guy who the police, I think he's like a police chief at the time. He ended up losing his job. Okay, he ended up leaving his job because of this. He said that he was so weirded out by all of this that this thing ran at least 35 miles an hour beside his vehicle. He said that he was trying to run it over with his car or his truck because and he said it had springs in its heels, like Spring Heel Jack. Remember, you and I talked about that before. Yeah,
that's weird because that puts it in that category then. And, I get laughed at for this, but these beings that just jump in our field of awareness and then they jump away.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's got a lot to do the way we perceive things that actually jump in our field of awareness on this other earth in the dream state, that we're perceiving some of that. But we see things like that. Yeah. But, they said he was supposed to be physical, though. He'd jump away, But at first, the first chupacabras were doing that, too. Eventually, they started doing the goat sucker thing, but they were jumping away a lot too.
Yeah, that's right. Sovereign says kangaroo cryptids. Well, the police chief out of Falkville, Alabama, said that it reminded him of Lost in Space. Okay, kind of like this guy right here, which is also similar to your astronaut.
Will Robinson.
And around the same time, around the 1960s, we had the Apollo 13. I believe this is Apollo 13 crew right here. They've got those tubes on them too, just like this space cadet behind this little girl with the helmet. I don't know. I'm not really making a connection to the astronauts with this, but similar. I don't know. Could be. Looks like a hazmat suit a little bit too. So, this is all around the same time frame. Okay, within 10 years of each other, all this is going on here. But I'm not saying they're all connected or anything, but it's interesting to look at and draw these connections here. But yeah, like I was saying, it did ruin that man's life. The police chief lost his wife, quit his job, and
What, you got on the bottle? Oh yeah,
probably so. Yeah. All right. Well.
Any more data on that? Did you get all the data?
No, that was about it because I got so upset because I was seeing all that torture and the suffering of those animals being tested, all the samples being tested, and I wrote down animals, and so I didn't write down humans, but I'm thinking there was more than just animals in there too. So.
And I think there's something else that everyone should pay attention to is what mode of travel was used for that creature, that thing, to get that close to them and then gone. And whatever it was enough for the camera caught it. But like you had mentioned, he took 3 or 4 pictures, and there were others. That was only in maybe 2 of them?
It was in one. It was 3 pictures.
Just one?
Excuse me, 3 pictures, and it was in the second picture, and that was it. If you look at it, if you really look at it, and I've got it blown up on my screen here. It almost looks like an alien or something, like a really long, skinny neck.
Yeah,
And
it
it's got
looks.
a back turn.
It looks to me. It always looked to me like, is it like either a robot or somebody wearing a suit, like an astronaut suit or something like that? It looks like to me, and it looks to me like whatever. It looks like that looks like a large breastplate to me, and something to protect whatever is inside. It almost looks like it could be a type of armor, even, or just not not a person, But apparently, it's a little bit of both, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or you knock that helmet off, and what, you got a pan under there? It looks like pan. I mean,
Pan, a goat man.
I mean, seriously, is that what it is? I mean, we don't really know. It's a possibility. The data's showing that, or it's it's one of these experiments that they're trying to put together, and it's in that thing, whatever it is. Like I said, I keep thinking about those movies they have that they're sending the monkeys into space, and that's the Planet of the Apes stuff, Anyway.
I mean, yeah, sorry, I muted myself. Okay. Yes, I was picking up on that, like lab monkeys. So what I kept seeing, lab monkeys and dogs and stuff. I mean, I was seeing all sorts of stuff in like cages being tortured, basically, is what I was seeing. So,
and I'd advise everybody to look up. I'm sure everybody in your audience is hip to Praveen Mohan, however you say it. He has done a lot of stuff on Lord Hammond and around those footprints and everything. And he talks about that. He talks about the Venera being seen around those footprints late at night and doing a worshiping ceremony to Lord Hammond. He talks about that. Some of those ancient temples he goes to also. Very interesting cat, that dude is. I've seen he's made his way to Ancient Aliens now. They picked up, he's on there just every now and again. He should be. Not many people go into those ancient temples like that. Those temples, Hindu temples, are very old, and very remote. And when you start dealing with things like Nagas and stuff like that, that's where you see the real representations of them.
Yeah. Speaking of Ancient Aliens is actually in my data for one of those egg UFOs. I remember writing that down, which is pretty interesting. I'm going to see if I have any more pictures.
That person is right, The person's right. Does anybody question why the hell Sasquatch don't want nothing to do with humans? I mean,
right?
I think that makes him about the sharpest knife in a cabinet in the drawer.
Yeah, I cannot blame them for not wanting to be around humans. I really can't. And
everybody say, well, they're Nephilium. Is that them or is that us? We got to be real careful. We start throwing stuff like that around. You know what I mean? Because if you look at what we do to the planet, and if they're quote unquote the forest people, we're monsters, man.
Yeah, I do. I want to kind of go back to that data a little bit because I wrote down the term super spreader. Okay. Now, what if there's something that whatever that being is was trying to spread around? Like you had mentioned a while back, we were talking about, these Grim Reaper type ETs or whatever seen when the bubonic plague was being spread around, right? And it seemed like they were blowing out some fog into the pastures and the crops or something. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah. And looking that up, because it's been addressed by like Ancient Aliens and also that other show on History Channel, the one Alexis Brooks is on, my friend Alexis, Mysteries of the Unknown or something like that. Anyway, I see different depictions of it. Sometimes they look like the creatures that look like what's the one you just remote viewed? What's it called again?
The Pan or Goat Man or Lord Hanneman?
No, the robot.
Oh, the Fogville Metal Man.
Yeah. No, that's the one that look almost robotic, right?
Yes.
Illustrations. Okay, yeah, I've seen them looking like that. And there's another description that they're supposed to be look like Grim Reapers with sickles. So I'd never seen them represented like that before. But then when dealing with that takes us into that praying mantis representation potentially.
Yeah. That's what I saw. I had one of those in my bedroom one night,
Mhm.
actually. It looked like I when I woke up, I thought I had seen the Grim Reaper by my bed, but it had hands like a mantis, or like a mantid being. Um, I don't know. You know what else is really crazy is that we did that show on, actually, we did the Falkville Metal Man and the Flatwoods Monster. And that Flatwoods Monster
That's
actually
it.
was
Flatfoot
very
monster.
robotic. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. It had. It
that's it.
was. It was very robotic too. It was robotic, and it had hands that did that too. Actually,
Mhm.
and that was what I saw in my bedroom that night.
Yeah, yeah. Those illustrations that I had seen, the initial ones of the bubonic plague, with those beings looked just like that, but they had these smoke bomb things in their hands, and they're supposed to be emitting this odor, and then everybody got sick after that. There's also some saying that sometimes before some of these plagues and things, there's been UFOs seen that are dropping, seem like they're dropping material. You heard that before?
Mhm. Yeah, could it be like drones? And the mysterious fog that we've gotten. We had this really bad fog that came through Georgia and where I live, and that same day, that same night, I got so sick. I thought I was gonna die. I was so sick, and I actually had to cut my show. I started getting sick during my show, and I got a really bad fever. I had a horrible fever, and I was sick for about a day or two. Um,
Question.
mhm.
You remember had you remote viewed the Yellowstone fog
Yes.
and the Gugwe that seems to come accompanied with that fog as well? Do you remember? Did people say that fog made them sick, or was that not part of that?
I
I can't
don't
remember.
remember. Let me pull up my Patreon real quick because it's in there. I can pull up the data. I just got to search for it real quick. I don't remember people getting sick from it, but I do remember Gugway hiding in it, and that's it, or cryptids or anything hides in that fog. I had that incident with my
And
team out in the field where I had that fog that started following us one night, and it seemed to have a consciousness to it. Now, that was one of the scariest nights I've ever had out in the field. Was when that fog was chase. It was literally. It felt like it was chasing us.
hmm
We were trying to haul butt back down to base camp, and every time we'd stop, it would stop, and we were watching it intently. So it wasn't like it wasn't my imagination. It was literally stopping and going with us in a national park. By the way, yeah. So
yeah, it's quite similar to what those people describe. A sentient fog that follows them, and you got the voices of the Yellowstone whispers. You had remote viewed that too, along with
mhm.
the fog. And a lot of times people hear those voices accustomed or accompanied by the fog.
Yes.
So so that fog give you a little test of some negative gugwees, give you a little test of some voices. Hey, let's go camping, man. Yeah,
I love
definitely.
camping. I'd go. I can read what we talked about. It said there are strange noises heard around Lake Yellowstone, usually in the early morning hours, resembling whispers and human voices. Some say it sounds like the buzzing of bees. Theories are maybe it's flocks of flying birds, erupting volcanic gases, seismic activity, and the grounding of static electricity in the lake. The Native Americans believed that the sounds were sacred, perhaps the ghostly voices of their ancestors. Explorers documented the whispers in their journals in the 1800s, and people still hear them to this day. And their stories of dense, electricity filled fog in Yellowstone that has a malevolent energy to it. It seems to appear out of nowhere, and it follows people around, stalking them in the park, just like what I had happen in North Georgia. The mysterious fog has been associated with Gugway with glowing red eyes, using the fog as cover for attacks on unsuspecting hikers. Some say the Yellowstone whispers protect them from the Gugway in the dense fog. Man, that was really cool. Actually, we had some pretty cool data with that too.
Yeah.
Actually, so yeah, you've given me some really great targets over the
All right.
years.
Well, hey,
You really
thanks.
have.
Thanks for doing them. It's interesting because that fog and how they're using that for attack. It's similar to the way predators. A lot of people are aware that, especially like your real strong predators, they use rainstorms. That's the best
Yeah,
time to ambush, prey is during a rainstorm. Normally the smell is taken, the hearing is taken, the sight is impinged. It's you know,
Yeah.
which is the way, I
Yeah.
guess, if you're somebody in a different dimension, that's the way a lot of humans are anyway. We've got these other beings right here that are like our cousins, these inorganic beings that know us so well. And they put thoughts in our minds. They do all sorts of things, and they're right here with us, but we're unaware of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But they sure do know how to manipulate us, and they've got plenty of time to study us to the core. That's why a lot of people that do these channelings, they got to be very careful what they're picking up. Who they're talking to. Oh, it's the Pleiadians. Do you really know that? We have to be very careful. A lot of discernment must be used.
For sure. Yes. And Sovereign says David Paulides talks about rainstorms shortly after someone vanishes. Yeah.
And there's another thing how he mentions that the states that have those huge aquifers around the middle of the United States don't have any missing clusters there. But I think that has, always after someone, in your data, when you did the missing 411, that came up. Why didn't it? Why did some of those storms happen afterwards? There's some sort of weather technology or something that is going that they're doing.
Yeah.
It disrupts something. I'm pretty sure that came up in the data.
I think it did too, and I can speak from experience. When we were up at Montauk, New York, at Camp Hero, we went. The whole purpose of the trip was to be there when the portal opened up, where the USS Eldridge was supposed to reappear. We thought it was scheduled to reappear there according to calculations and this biorhythmic portal, right? So we went there, and the weather was beautiful. It was fine the entire time. We were there for over a week. And the only day that there was any fog whatsoever was that morning when it was time for us to go stake out this area of the ocean where the portal was supposed to open. And the fog was so dense. It was artificial and natural, very unnatural. It was like somebody had come in and pumped a whole bunch of fog all over. It was so dense you couldn't see a foot in front of your face. We couldn't hardly even drive to get down to the beach or anything. And it was just completely unnatural. And throughout the day, we were seeing people in the team that were out in the boat, especially, were seeing blue lightning in the middle of the ocean, but they couldn't see what that blue lightning was hitting. It was just a whole bunch of blue and green lightning. It was wild.
You see this blue lightning right there? You didn't see this blue lightning?
No, I was at Camp Hero. I was not on the ocean. I wasn't staked out right there. I was somewhere else. I was over at Camp Hero with some people.
Nobody got any pictures of this blue lightning? I mean, or this just
sure they did. Yeah, James did. James was there. James Rink. Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. It was very interesting.
James to show that to me. Hey, Rink, show me the pics, bro.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they got some pictures of it. There was a whole team out on a boat.
That's cool. I mean, I just have a problem with that whole story, because if this thing materializes like people say, why come nobody has any pictures or any evidence? And it happens all the time like that. It's just little stuff like that I have to take with a grain of salt.
Well, maybe. Well, see, that was the whole point, though, of me telling you that story, was that there was something very artificial that was pumped into the environment to cover it up. If there was or if there wasn't, we couldn't see it anyways because it had been covered up immensely. So there was no way for us to even experience it because there was such dense fog. So I think, this is my personal opinion, because I've been in this predicament a couple of times where something felt unnatural, where there was something or someone or some group messing with the environment. Okay, so that we would not experience things like that. And like I said, I speak from experience. And I was there. I don't even know stinking pictures.
Damn comedian, Jones.
That's what I'm saying. Well, you know what?
I'm just teasing you.
That's their whole point.
I'm sorry.
I would think that's their whole point of doing that, is so that they can be like, oh, look, these people are crazy. You know, these people are crazy. We know there's all these people here to look for this, and they're here, and so we're just gonna cover it up.
I agree. I just like teasing you sometimes. I'm sorry. Anyway, maybe we should talk about some scrambled eggs or whatever. I'm sorry, egg UFOs.
Oh, well, let's talk about this. Actually, I think that it's a kind of a hot topic right now. Let's talk about these egg UFOs. I mean, we've already touched on it already. Cryptid was in the chat saying that he was wondering if something was gonna crack and something would come out of it. Okay, well, a lot of these eggs considered cracking if a creature was going to come out of it. Okay.
A crack in the egg. I got you.
The Kraken, yes. Well, Barry, when it comes to like extraterrestrial stuff, okay, I keep saying there's a lot of real stuff out there mixed with hoaxes and AI and fake stuff and AI pictures and stuff. But you and I have seen something, and okay, I'm just going to go there with this, okay, because we talked about the plutonium factory or wherever they're making these plutonium weapons in the background of that one picture that I remote viewed. Okay, so I don't know if Matt wants me to say this or not. I hope you don't get mad at me, Matt, if you ever watch this. There's a video that our friend Matt Delph has, and I'm going to be with him next weekend at a UFO conference. I'm sure he'll show it there. He doesn't show it publicly.
That's cool. I get to see that. That'd be a treat. Anybody who gets to see that, that's a treat to see that. I mean, that's something I could just sit there. He must have played it like 5 or 6, 7, 8 times. He said he could have played that thing another 25 times and I kept watching it. It's really just incredible. It really is. Okay, so he was given that video by his good friend Angelia Shear. Okay, and she was I think she was the head of Tennessee MUFON, I think, and that was one of her videos, and there was some kind of controversy over it because she wasn't supposed to have it or something, or somebody, they wanted her to give it up or give it away to somebody, and Matt ended up getting his hands on it before she passed away, and she died of a brain tumor, I believe, right, and it was this stuff, when we talk about how what we do is dangerous sometimes, very dangerous when it comes to disclosure and things being there's real stuff, but it's covered up by stuff that's not real. And I know this is even true in the cryptid community too. And I've been doing boots on the ground research for a long time. And having a piece of evidence that's not public, that is so in your face, like what we've seen, what they had. Okay, and I said Angela gave that to him. Matt, she and Matt both got sick around the same time, actually, and at a conference. And Matt was wondering, well, maybe plutonium came up, like something like that, because they both got sick, and Angela passed away about 3 years ago, I think, about 3 years ago, and so Matt has this, and he's not wanted. He promised her he wouldn't show it publicly. Okay, because it was dangerous for him to have this, and that's why he's not been on my show to show it to the public yet. I can believe it. I can believe it, man. It's. I mean, that's one there. Just when you see it, it would be damn hard for anyone to stage that. It's
you can't. This is not something you can stage. Yeah. So that's why he has not shown it publicly yet. Okay, I think that he's getting his feet wet showing it at conferences right now, but he had made a promise to Angelia that he would not, because it would get exploited. You know what I mean? Oh, and people, this is the real deal. There's orbs that shoot down from the sky and they hit the ground, they turn into gray aliens and they run around. I mean,
it's the most convincing footage I've ever seen. Honestly, to be quite honest, I mean, it's up there with anything anybody could say, anything on YouTube. As far as stuff that's supposed to be whistleblower stuff, it beats any of that.
It does. Absolutely.
And that's what really something about, I've mentioned this before, something that really shocked me is how those, whatever they were, grays, they look like a type of gray of some type, but they had the most insectoid type of movement. Did you notice that?
They did. Well, yes. They ran with okay, so if you ever seen a cartoon where like Tom and Jerry, where like the cat is running or the road runner, and the coyote, and they're running and their legs are in front of them and their bodies are behind them. That is exactly how they ran. These things were running with it's like their heads were too big for their bodies or something. It was weird. It's very weird.
It was very fluid too, though. It was very odd. I mean, it reminded me like, have you ever seen the way ants kind of run in their tunnels? Like you have an ant farm. They look kind of move like the speed. It was like that though.
It's fast.
Not the movement, but the speed was. Yeah, it was very.
It's not. It's not natural for us, our human brains to comprehend. It's just not natural. It's not something, and that's how we explain like cryptid sightings. We see things that are like Bigfoot or like a dog man. Even sometimes they look cartoonish because it's beyond our comprehension. It doesn't look right to us, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a problem that I had during my experiences. Is that not just is it hard to breathe in there and you're getting telepathically bombarded, but you don't have a proper frame of reference. So that becomes
Right.
mind blowing and too much to take in. You know what I mean? I mean, not too much, but it leaves you somewhat, blown away and unable to, yeah. Kind of like the same way that someone, when they see some type of huge Sasquatch walking by and they say, man, I had a camera right here and I didn't do nothing. I was too busy trying to not urinate on myself. It's things of that nature. But I mean, it really makes a lot of sense, though. It's because we're beings of perception, and when you're perceiving something, you don't always have time to press the record button. You're having an experience,
Right. So this came out. That video is from somebody's CCTV camera in their backyard. Okay, that's where it came from. I've seen lots of pictures and videos of real, actual ETs, and I've seen them myself in person, so I know how they move. It's not normal. Okay, it's just not normal. And so, anyways, okay, but I digress because we're not talking about aliens so much as we are these egg UFOs. But I did want to preface all this by talking about that video that we saw because we've actually seen this, and this lines up with the data that I have for this egg UFO because these orbs, these were like a metallic orb. It looked metallic and it shot past that camera, right? Did it not look metallic to you, Barry? And then it turned into an alien.
Oh, you talking about Matt Steele?
Matt's video.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. It was like an orb come up, and it looked almost like it was an orb, and it came out of the orb, basically. Yeah,
it was solid. It looked like it was metallic, and we're seeing these metallic egg UFOs. They're calling them UFOs. What if these are like living organisms or something? I mean, because that thing that we saw two of them. There's two of them in the video. They turned into when they hit the ground, they turned into a living being that ran around. And then it made back in, and then it went back into a ball, and then it shot past the camera again. Okay, we have that story. We also have the story of the 23 Russian soldiers that were turned to limestone when they shot some soldiers shot down a UFO in the Ukraine. Russian soldiers with a missile launcher. And when the UFO crashed, 5 beings came out of it. This is in a declassified KGB document, CIA document, actually, too. They said that five ETs came out of it. They formed into an orb. And as they formed into an orb, their bodies all came together, turned into an orb, and that shot out that frequency, that blast, and that's what turned them all to limestone. Crazy, right?
So the petrifying somebody, basically.
Petrified, like the petrified giants.
My big question is this, and I asked you this, just a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Is that what happened to the Moe?
Yes, probably.
Is that how they got petrified? Because apparently they were much more like those mushroom robots that we see now. I mean, that stuff I put out after we got done with that, and I found some of that, and those beings that they're using light to control the impulses of these mushroom brains in these robots. And then you see these things moving around. And it's the way the Moe move, the way that they're described as moving. It looks like the way those robots are moving. And more than that, just the AI they had in them also had that they were like some type of teachers and protectors too. But what happened? When did they get petrified and got pushed over? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something happened. It's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Could be. Yeah. Very. I mean, I just love connecting these dots and stuff. I mean, that's what I do. Okay, is connecting these dots, and so yeah. I mean, I think it's worth looking into a little bit more. But through this data, okay, I'm going to get into this data. Okay, because we're remote viewing this egg, I guess. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna take this down. I wanted to show the audience these things are covered in hieroglyphics, like hieroglyphs. Is that how you say it? Hieroglyphs, I guess. I'm gonna take this down.
Self-activating symbols.
Yes. Okay. Is that what those are? Okay. I want to show close-ups here. I don't know if you can see them on here. You can kind of see them on here on some of these pictures. Okay. It's kind of hard to see them actually. You can see them right here a little bit. It looks like they're carved into this thing. Okay, it looks like they're carved into it. Here, this is all from the Reddit post. Okay, these are from that Reddit post. And this is just kind of pointing out, I guess, I didn't make that chart, so that's just something I found that was in that post. Okay, but it's showing some of the symbols that are on there. Okay, some of them that are on there. And like you said, they were actually seen on the UFO, the crafts, these glyphs have been seen on the Kecksburg UFO. Okay, out of Kecksburg. Where's Kecksburg? I can't remember. I did a remote viewing target on that a while back, and we did a show on that with John Vindeventer. That was the last show he and I did together. It's been a while. But there were.
Apparently, I need to. My geography is off because I have no idea.
I don't remember where Kecksburg is. I don't remember. Okay, Pennsylvania. Okay, whoops. Oh yeah, thank you guys. Everybody's saying Pennsylvania. That's right. It was Pennsylvania. But anyways. Okay, so yeah, we have definitely yeah, these glyphs are on a lot of things. Okay, they're on a lot of things. All right, so let's go over this data here. Okay, or let me read about it. So this is out of Antarctica, Barry. An anonymous whistleblower leaked some photos. Okay, this is on Reddit. They said, okay, there's the pictures of this egg-shaped craft. There's also like a box. Okay, and this is here too. Okay, the target was actually only the egg. Okay, but beside this egg is this weird little box right here. Okay, and allegedly there's supposed to be, according to the post, it's supposed to be like a place where an alien sleeps. Now, I did do some consulting with my buddy after I had remote viewed this. Okay, somebody I know that has also seen ETs and has experience with them, and who said, I asked, would that part have been a hoax? Okay, like the alien part. Okay, because I think the egg is real. Okay, but the alien part, I don't know. It's up for debate. Okay, but he said that he had never seen one sleeping like that. He said they don't usually sleep like that, like in a little box. As a matter of fact, they stand, like statues, completely still for about 15 to 30 minutes at a time. They zone out. You don't know if they're zone out. They don't really listen to you. I don't know. There's a whole, I forgot what you call it. It's stereotypical of, like, I guess grayish or whatever. Yeah, they trance out is what he was saying. They kind of like are in a trance, but he's never really seen any of them lay down like that to go to sleep. Okay, so, but like Edgar says, perspectives may vary. I don't know. I'm sure there are humans that sleep standing up. I don't know. Okay. But yes, the egg does look organic. Okay. So let's see. Okay, these pictures came out just a couple of days after there was a man named Jacob Barber, okay, that had him and his buddies. They said they're from Delta Force, I think. I don't know who Jacob Barber is. I'm not sure who he is. I'm sure people in the audience know. But they said that they had transported several egg-shaped and octagon flying saucers, actually, as part of a top-secret UFO recovery team. I guess like a crash retrieval or some kind of recovery team. Okay, there's Caleb. And Jacob said that they vouched for the authenticity and their firsthand experience of some of these crafts that they've been doing crash retrievals and stuff for some time. They said that some of these UFOs, they called them UAPs, which when I was at Space Talk Radio, I remember the guys that were always like, well, UAP probably means, some of the guys are, not everybody. So UAP probably means that it's man-made, reverse engineered. Okay, but I digress. But they said that they've spent over a decade of watching crafts fly out of solid rock, Barry. Fly out of solid rock. What does that sound like to you? Holographic, maybe? Holographic mountainsides?
Possible. Mm-hmm.
And they said they also watched them for over a decade flying out of the ocean while they were on the crash recovery team. Now, I've talked to people. Like, listen, when people are on a crash recovery team, they do not talk about it. They're not allowed to talk about it ever. So this is all. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that he's talking about it. I'm just saying. Okay. Let's see here.
That's that's what gives some of that a little bit more validity. Is because that's the one I'm thinking they were showing just the other day, and it's not the same one you had showed me, but they're getting a lot of people talking about that, and these whistleblowers coming forward, and it's been all over the press. So they're saying that this is like one of the deal, but it still came from this unknown source and all that. So it's this little tidbit, which is cool, however it goes how it goes. So
it is. Well, you know what? Today, you know what got released today? All the information behind the JFK assassination. Okay, like there's a lot of disclosure going on right now. I'm just saying it implicated who was guilty.
What is it this time? I'm not hip.
Oh, well, I guess our new president came in.
I can't shake a stick at it all. So what's this?
Yeah, there's a lot of disclosure that's going on right now, and an executive order was signed where they released the files of the unalivings of JFK and RFK and MLK Jr. And I was actually just watching some videos right before we went live today about it. So I don't know. I'm just saying, if that kind of stuff that I never saw would ever see the light of day in our lifetime, if that information is coming forward, then I'm assuming we're going to get some more disclosure on the UFOs. And maybe, I'm not going to say the cryptids. I don't know. Maybe cryptids, maybe Bigfoot. Okay. But who knows?
See, this is why I like working with you, because you keep me optimistic, because I don't have that same optimism that you do. I think we're about maxed out. I think they've just about maxed out what they're going to tell people. It's getting pretty close, I think. They're not going to tell people about the back engineering. They're not going to tell people about who's on those craft, how many have been interacting with the United States or with the world. And they're not really going to tell you that. Maybe they will, and I hope they do. I hope I'm wrong. And we do have this great disclosure. But I don't think we're going to get much more than what we're seeing now, just a little more. Yeah, we've got a couple of crafts, and we're under secrecy.
Yeah. Well, I'm very optimistic right now, because things that I never thought would see the light of day like that are being disclosed right now. Light is being shined on it, and I know I may or may not have known at least a couple of people, or one person or a few, that have done things like UFO crash retrievals, and they could never say a word about it ever to anybody. And I know they would never speak publicly on that kind of stuff. So the fact that these guys are talking about it and it could be legit, okay, that says a lot right there, because those guys would never be able to talk about it. So there's something going on right now. There's something going on where all these people are talking about it.
You had two people that talked about it, and they're both dead now. And, a lot of times it's said that a person's energy really flows out and touches people just before they die and after.
Yeah.
And those are two of the people I listen to a lot. And one of them communicated with me a little bit before he got sick. It's Clifford Stone and Robert Dean.
Yeah.
Those were two interesting dudes right there, man. I mean, when it comes to if all their stuff hadn't been pulled off YouTube by now, look up all that stuff they were saying, especially in the earlier. There was a conference they did together. It was years ago, but I mean, the stuff that they were doing, especially when they first came forward, very interesting, And in my opinion, some most reliable testimony concerning crash retrieval I've heard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, let's get into this Antarctica stuff here, because we've definitely been talking about Antarctica a lot on the channel. Before I even had Brad Olson on the show, and he's been to Antarctica, and there's a lot of stuff that's super secret down there, all classified, and I think what we just want to know, like you said, we want to know what our government knows about UFOs and aliens and crafts, and what is what is organic and real and ET related, and what is back engineered, and how far advanced are they? Those are my questions, personally. But what are if these little egg-shaped UFOs? And they're not that little; they're pretty big. Have they been? Are these from like ETs that live here? Are they here? These things are being found in caves. They say in mountains, under the ice, in like ice caves and stuff. Were they left behind by like an ancient civilization or what? Like that's really another question. In all the the cases of the two different egg-shaped craft that I was looking over, that they were both seamless and metallic. Okay, so they were like seamless. They were not man-made whatsoever. There were no seams in them. There were no rivets. There were no screws. Nothing. Just pure metal. And and that's why I brought up those orbs that we saw in that video that turned into aliens. I mean, they didn't have any screws in them, I'm sure. They were like organic beings that were like metal. It sounds so weird saying that. But Antarctica is known for UFOs. Okay, definitely known for UFOs. And let's just say like Nazi UFO programs and things like that, and bases down there. Now, let's see. From the information I have on these, before I get into the data, it says they're smooth, metallic, seamless, no rivets, no propulsion system, instantaneous accelerations, ability to change direction on a dime. The object is 20 to 30 feet in length, no electronic components. So how are they able to fly? There's no engines or thrusters. Scientists in the retrieval programs have been unable to explain how they work. There's probably anti-gravity components. And they think that whoever made these things have mastered 0-point energy.
Hold on. Who is this talking? Where'd you get this from?
This is just some research I did on them after I did the target. I don't know. I have to.
Those are people that worked on these craft that are saying this. Right?
They said that these are the scientists that worked on them. They said that they were. This is what the article said that I found. I have to get the article because I just
because it just sounds very generic to me. It's something we could say about yes, they're organic crafts. No, there are no seams in any of them. This stuff we know. It's not really whistleblowing anything. You know what I mean? So that's all I asked. That's all.
This is just what
I don't mean to be cynical, but I'm just curious who it
you
was.
are. You're the most cynical, Barry. You always are. Okay, we need that.
I'm an experiencer. And I just hear a lot of crap, man. That's the problem. You are too, but I mean, I've been on board crafts, so it's not. I'm very curious. You know what I mean? Just of who it is. Just keep going though. I'm all ears, and I'm open to being modified and being swept off my feet by all the information. Don't worry.
You've already been modified, Barry. You just don't know it. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. They've also got those ancient glyphs on them. All right, I'm not going to keep going because Barry, let's just get into the data. That's what we're here for. Okay.
Please.
So this is actually really interesting because in this target, I'm going to go through my sensory data. Okay, for this. Whew, we have gone almost 2 hours already. Okay, so this is some of my sensory data for this egg-shaped craft. Okay, we don't even know if this is real for sure. Okay, we don't know for sure, but this is my data. Okay, bait, fast, alive, cornered and hiding, dormant, slick, fast, move, old, hot, and full. Oh, that was my sensory data. Okay, before I could even get my ideograms written out. Okay, I usually, when I'm doing the ideograms, I usually hear something, and it kind of like sets the tone for the whole target. So as I was writing out my ideograms, I heard biologic. Okay, not biological, biologic is what I heard. So I wrote that down, and I kept getting data that was like sleeper agent, sleeper, asleep, sleeper agent, turned off, powered down, directed or direct hit. I wrote down ancient, and ancient aliens was in my data as well. Again, I got sleeper cell. I got sleeper agent, sleeper cell. Robot and robotic was in my data as well. iBot, I wrote iBot, whatever that is. And I also got controlled opposition and controlled. So I was basically picking up what I thought I was remote viewing. And when I was reading this, I was thinking, when I went back, I was thinking, well, maybe this is like robots that have been programmed to attack or something. Like that's what I felt when I went back and I was looking over his data. I was thinking, well, maybe there's like some kind of AI that is just sitting dormant, waiting to like come after somebody or something. I don't know. Because I just kept getting, or maybe it's not even to be violent. Maybe it's just like to wake up. You know what I mean? So some more of my sensory data here. Let's see. I actually wrote body snatchers down.
Really?
In invasion, I wrote invasion and body snatchers. Yeah. I wrote part of my that was my AOL, because in my sensory data I wrote invade. I was picking up on something that was round, circular, oblong, soulless. I wrote down soulless, and pod and pod people. Oh my god, I wrote down pod people. So pod people are like personal something. I forgot what the O stands for, but personal drone, some kind of a drone. Okay. Personal, I want to say like observation drone or something, or personal operational drone, I think is what it is. And I think we talked about pod people when Brown Dwarf came on the show a while back, and we were looking into the like orphan trains and the potential of like human cloning happening for like a human reset. And we talked about the pod people for that. So I was picking up on pod people for this.
Which is
data.
what the body of the snatchers,
Oh, yeah.
invasion of body snatchers. They were pod people or pod creatures. They were fungus too. You look at it technically.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mayme's right. Okay, so right after I wrote pod people, and I wrote soulless beings, I heard soulless beings clairaudiently. I wrote orphan trains, incubator babies, and cabbage patch. I actually wrote that down in my data. I was picking up on something that had no feelings. It was absent of emotions, and a dark space, cold nighttime, and something about being on sacred land. Okay, sacred land and a sacred site, ancient land. So I wrote down, because I'd picked up on ancient aliens and something ancient, but I wrote down ancient land. And the very last thing that I wrote down was Mars. I don't know what Mars has to do with this, but I wrote down Mars. And that's when I ended the session with this data here. But it was very clearly something to do with ancient aliens of Mars and soulless beings. Clones again? I mean, I don't know. I mean, pod people would be some sort of something that is soulless, I guess. Been taken over by another entity.
It sticks out to me a lot that you had invasion in there.
I had it twice. Invasion was in here twice, because I had invade, and then I had body snatchers and invasion and invade.
And when you look at that Rendlesham Forest illustration, you know, that's the one that looks like the incubator, I think, more than any of them. And boy, wow. Yeah. And then the body of the snatchers, all that's all invasion stuff.
It is.
And, you know, when you start looking at whatever type of a clone, you know, there's a lot of talking, there's definitely organic component, but when you start dealing with a lot of some of those, like the Bases 18 people, they talk about the systems they've seen in which grays are grown in. And this type of amniotic, and I can't say the word, and amniotic fluid.
Amniotic.
Amniotic fluid. Yeah. Sorry, I'm tired. But that's something, these type of reproduction that they're doing, these system and these cloning technology, you're describing something similar to that, and that's what some of these eggs appear to be. And we start doing with some of that. People want to talk about that stuff, like the Bashar guy talks about all the time, that they're right here with us, and that they're going to start, you know, incorporating, and the hybrids are coming in. And I think Barbara Lamb talks about that too, how the hybrids are going to be walking around our population, and how they're here to kind of upgrade us. I don't specifically personally prescribe to that, but what you're saying though is leading to that, and at least a part of that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
we got soulless beings.
Too, how many of those egg craft are being left for them to purposely find? You know what I mean? It's getting pretty weird there, you know what I mean? If it's invasion,
Oh my God. You know what? I just made another connection. My son today was playing a video game. He's got a PS5. He plays a game. I didn't realize it was so bad. It's called Red Dead Redemption 2. That's his game, man. He loves that game.
What's it
And
called?
Red Dead Redemption 2 or something. And it's just like Grand Theft Auto, but with cowboys. Okay. And I didn't realize it was that bad. I thought it was a cowboy game. I didn't know. And so he's over there playing that, and he's like, "Mom, look, I got all these Easter eggs." I don't know if that was a game he was playing at the time because that's the game he plays all the time. But he kept saying, "Mom, there's an Easter egg here. There's Easter eggs." And I was like, "That's funny because I'm actually going to be talking about egg-shaped UFOs tonight." And he was telling me, he was like, "Well," he said, "Well, there's Easter eggs. I got to go here and I can find a hat and I can find this. And, they hide these things throughout the game and you go find them. And then it's like a little surprise or something." That's how he explained it. And that's exactly how you just described these egg-shaped craft. It's like they're little Easter eggs planted all over the planet for us to go find. To maybe, yeah, UFO. He just said, yeah, UFO Easter eggs, Ben. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could be, or maybe it's, oh my gosh, what if that were to be the case? What if they're strategically placed all over the earth for us to decode something? I don't know. Used to help decode.
And there's times that those ships too can be voids and actually portals themselves. As in the case, the gentleman Jonathan Reed, the one that beat that creature to death with the stick because it was killing his dog, and then the government came and took the carcass and everything. He threw it in his freezer. The guy's name is Jonathan Reed, and a lot of people try to discredit him. But when he first came forward, he was on Art Bell, and that was the first time I had heard him. And he provided these pictures of what he said was the craft too, and it looked like this. Almost, it wasn't an octagon, but I can't think of the geometric shape, but it was black. And the way he was describing not just the being, but being around this thing, it wasn't just a ship, it was a portal. You know what I mean? So sometimes we deal with this, and these aren't the separate classifications that we want them to be. You know what I mean? And like for example, I've been on board this craft, and this is an experience I had when I was about 18. My experiences ramped back up, okay? And it involved 4 hours of missing time. But this craft had come up on me, and I was on board it, and it was really a trip. But inside, there were these, in each room, there were these eggs. And when I call it that, there were these eggs that there were in some rooms they were big, some they were smaller, but they would look similar to this, okay? This illustration of that experience. And you can see there's an egg there, and the walls seemed like they were a type of harder mycelium, but these eggs had what was like a glass on the front of them, or almost similar to a glass, and then on the back would be like this metal and then organic tubes that go into the wall. But inside of each one of these eggs were these lights, and also this mist all over the craft. But in those eggs, there was more of a mist, and these lights floating around. And I would notice sometimes these beings, like the one in the illustration there, some of them were looking at these eggs. So it made me look at them too, okay? Like they were tuned into them. But I kept thinking that there must be like power sources or something like that.
Yeah.
Until I was in a certain room, the experience was about over. I was about to pass out. And two of those lights emerged from the egg in that room and attached to me and started helping me. And I can only say that in terms of I'm suffering, I'm about to throw up and pass out. But they're changing that. So I think it has to do a lot with time fields and also the biochemistry or biofield as well. Okay, that's when I realized these were life forms. They were non-corporeal life forms that stayed in those eggs and in that environment in there. Because the place of the ship that I'm on board that is dimensionally close enough to our third dimensional to where I can exist there physically, although getting sick, is detrimental to them. They're from another universe probably. And that's why they stay in those eggs. That's why I'm talking about we start dealing with actual passageways from one dimension to another, or even more specifically, one universe to another. When they're coming here, they're going to be using the spear. the spin. Okay, so that's why you have something like that. So what you're looking inside here, it's not just these eggs on board this craft. That's a pathway of coherency to another universe, probably, or another galaxy, another dimension where those beings are from. There are all sorts of different containers for consciousness. Some of them look like they were condensed light. Some of them look like they were plasma. Okay, but they were non-corporeal. I'm talking about what it's really like to be on a multidimensional ship. Okay, it's not like Star Trek. It's not like TV. It's not even like the TARDIS. None of that. It's totally different. And when you have some life forms that are non-corporeal, they're probably command officers. And some of these other beings are phased out. The ones that seem like they're more physical, they weren't quite like me. Some of them were, but some of them, they're like transparent. They're phased out. So there's a dimensional difference there. And that's why I'm bringing this up, okay? So some of these things we may be seeing, just because it's a craft and it's the outside of it exists as a third dimensional space-time event, that doesn't mean the inside does, okay? It could be another universe environment inside, another dimension, or it could just be a pathway to there.
Wow.
Doesn't matter, they used a tether to tether it up. What's inside? The inside and outside of the craft are not in the same dimension. That's why so many of us have been on board a craft that's huge inside, but outside it's small. It doesn't, which is what I saw in the sky, when it pulled me into that thing, the first room I went into was bigger than what it looked like I was seeing in the sky, let alone the other rooms. That takes us into that whole trans-dimensional thing that like Doctor Who portrays. That's not so much BS. You know what I mean? When dealing with beings from other, not just dimensions, but other densities, some of them. You know, density is more of a volume thing, as to where dimensions are more spatial parameters. But you're dealing with a little bit of both on some of this, density, dimensional.
Yeah. Wow.
I just want to throw that in. I'm not saying that's the answer for the eggs that you're remote viewing, but that's something we have to deal with, just as what I've experienced eggs on board. And it takes that whole cosmic egg thing that they talk about a lot, but it's quite similar to that. When you start dealing with life in that way, from different worlds, different dimensions, different universes.
Yeah.
For example, I had showed that craft that I was just talking about there. I'm not going to show the pictures, but I've showed people what it looked like when I saw it in the sky at first. It looked like almost what they call AKA a Pleiadian craft or something. It was metal. It seemed to be. Then it did this, at the end of the experience, it did this morphing thing, and it turned into what looked like what's called in the Keys of Enoch book here by J.J. Hertog. The first time I could find somebody that described what I saw, illustrated it, the Keys of Enoch. He calls them tri-pyramidal Merkabah. There's illustrations of them in this book. I've done some videos over it. Gave the pages on there. Anyway, what that ship was doing, okay, was actually doing a pattern of unfoldment for the destination of where it was going. It was going into another universe, one that's probably based on crystal, I would say, by the way it looked. You know what I mean? And when this experience was over, like Jessica, okay, things light up in the sky. You understand? It's I can talk about it now, it sounds cool, but when I witnessed this, it pushed my perceptual abilities to the limit. Do you understand? Just like the holographic mountain, I was out there freaking out, man. I don't care how many experiences I had. Every time I have one, I'd be feeling brand new. I think that's what it means when you go back into the higher realms. It's like as a kid, because I'd be blown away every damn time. I don't care how often it happens. I feel brand new every time. Anyway, this thing is kind of twisting in the sky, okay? And then suddenly at the end of the experience, it just looks like, because it's bright, it looks like someone just turned the light off, and I can only see the shadow of it. Then it disappears. When I've got Rudy Shields on, Dr. Shields on the phone, he's asking me a bunch of questions. And especially about the end of that experience. And when I told him that's what happened, he started kind of yelling, "That's exactly what you should have said. That's real. I know that now." So what do you mean? He said, "That's the quantum hologram you saw." So when it turned out and it looks black, you're seeing the silhouette of it. Then it disappeared. It's making that dimensional shift right then, that jump into that other world, into that other, through that Mako, whatever. I can't see the Mako, but that's what they're doing. Okay. And, and it made so much sense. I was like, that's why. Because I wondered, Jessica, I was like, God, why did I have to see that? Why did I have to I couldn't concentrate on my college studies or nothing. I'm thinking about shape-shifting UFOs and beings with brain coral heads. And I mean, it was tripping out, man.
Right.
Yeah, I was obsessing hard. Couldn't wait for Art Bell to come on. I was tuned in every night, man. I tried to go back out that place and reproduce the experience, and I couldn't. I even went out there and ate some great blue Hawaiian mushrooms. I tripped out, but I didn't see any UFOs. There was no contact, okay?
Oh my God.
Well, that's back in the 90s, man. Different era, you know what I mean? So it's,
Right.
but nonetheless, I think it's just worthy of saying that. That's just all I can put in with a part of the cosmic egg configuration in my own experience. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk about it so long, but I think it's just important to say because it was a physical experience, and that makes it a little different than even just the astral ones. I'm not putting down astral. It's better to have them that way because you won't be getting sick about to throw up like me.
Mm-hmm.
The energy body, the dream body doesn't have the same physical parameters as this one. So you can appreciate the experience. It's hard enough just trying to perceptually keep on point with it because the stuff you're seeing, that no frame of reference, then they're bombarding you with telethought, pictures and emotion. Oh, then you can't breathe in there. It smells like Windex, all this mist, the hell. You know what I mean? You feel like you're being pulled down, like on a merry-go-round the whole time you're in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, that it took me a while to understand what happened to me when I had my experience with some ETs. I couldn't understand why I was the only one that was awake and everybody around me was sleeping and they wouldn't wake up. And but I knew that I was awake. It was very real. Both times that I had these experiences in my own home.
mhm.
And I was talking with Tony Merkel when he had me on a show. I've been on a show a couple times, but I was on there first time and we were talking about how my dogs wouldn't wake up and my my son wouldn't wake up and I was making noise and I was trying to I was kind of stuck, like having this experience and wondering why nobody would wake up. And he said, well, what if you were in your astral body and like you were on that plane with them, like you weren't in the 3D with your family and your dogs. You woke up being in like the next plane, like the next dimension, in their realm. And that made way more sense than anything I could ever imagine. I was like, wow, it kind of clicked and it resonated. I was like, I was not in my body when that happened.
And there's a vibrational speed different between us and them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the best way they can do it is like that. So they can meet us halfway in the dreamscape. You know what I mean? In that way, because we're beings of perception. That right there, I just saw that. That is a brilliant, brilliant question. I get obsessed with that subject. I was obsessed about that. Okay, so I'm super
Super Saiyan yet. What's up, bud? That's
yeah,
my
what's
friend.
happening? Great question. On my channel, if you go to the playlist and there's a Sasquatch playlist, go down on there's probably 20 some videos on there, but one of them is called UFOs, Sasquatch, and Trees. And I believe there's a general connection there. And I can't say there's any one specific type of trees they might use more UFO wise, or craft wise. But it's very interesting to pay close attention to, like I mentioned, this craft I've been on board had some type of mycelium component. And there's a fungal component that they have that is part of the craft construction and composition itself. And when looking at the symbiotic relationship that fungus, mycelium, and mushrooms have with trees on this planet, you're seeing the same type of an organic communication between one of these craft and our tree system here. And that way it's going to be almost like Avatar, the way that this craft would communicate with the trees and use the trees and the root system as the internet of the earth. And something else I'll throw in here with that too, when seeing crafts like the one you just talked about that are coming out of the mountains, or going down into the
Mhm.
ground.
Yes.
Organic craft and have the ability to phase solid stone technology, silicone type of technology or whatever. They also can go down organic crafts into what's called the deep biosphere of the earth. It's a part of the earth we never hear about that contains like 90% of the bacteria on earth and fungal components have never been discovered. Okay. So that is a place when you're dealing with life forms, organisms that are communicating with each other. And there were those two chemists, Jessica, that I certainly can't remember their names, but they had come up with what they call the Mother Gaia concept, and the Gaia was the Gaia oh gosh theory or whatever. But anyway, it's that Earth is a living organism, but more than that, a lot of things that we see that are like cryptids and phenomenon are actually projections of the Earth as a conscious entity. And
Whoa.
especially during times of when it's stressed out like now, due to humanity, the fracking, all the pain, and the general, what Rupert Sheldrake and everybody calls the morphogenic field of Earth that humanity puts on us, all of us collective consciousness, the vibe we put off, is very bad for the Earth. So that's what that Mother Gaia concept that those chemists put up. People can look that up. But I think it's more realistic than ever. And right now, and I think as we're going to this next level and things are changing, everybody's talking about this, not just a planetary shift, but it's consciousness beings and our species increasing there. We're becoming aware of this stuff. There's not quite the
The
barrier
disconnect.
between frequencies and vibrations that there were. Stuff is coming through, stuff's bleeding through. We're finding out how to actually make Makos in laboratories, and all sorts of stuff is going on right now, so that part is exciting to be. That part I'm not skeptic of, you know what I mean? So I'm not all bad, Jones.
No, I know. I was messing with you. I mean, well, we're just getting all of this stuff that's fabricated, thrown in our faces, and being, they're dropping it on sites like Reddit and stuff, and it that's for a long time that's been kind of been the go-to. It's almost like I hate to make this connection, but when you're checking out at the grocery store and you're reading like the tabloids and stuff, it's like sometimes they put some true stories in there, like about Bigfoot and stuff. I used to love like sitting there. I would never buy one, but I'd read one, if I was sitting there checking out and had a minute. Sometimes there's some, let's just say, Easter eggs in those things, but they'll drop stuff, and it's kind of like, well, that would be the go-to to find the real deal on things. Do you know what I mean? And now, I mean, governments and whoever disinformation agents, they've caught on to it. They're going to go in there and they're going to start posting stuff that may not be real. But then there's also going to be people that post the real stuff too. So it's just really hard to tell what's real and what's not.
I'm gonna respond to that. Look, you're not scaring me, okay? You're not
Oh,
educating me
sorry,
on craft. Please go to my channel, look up
that one.
craft
Sorry.
and craft ships and technology. I talk about that, okay? And
Oh
what I
yeah.
saw, definitely we weren't doing it to make me more comfortable. It was what was going on with that craft and what they were doing. It wasn't about my comfortability, but I'm very aware of what they can use holographically, how they can tune into us. I talk about all that on my channel, so please don't think you're scaring me or educating me. I don't mean to be rude,
Oh,
but please go to my channel and look up that playlist, and you'll see a whole lot of stuff I talk about craft.
thank you,
Dozens
Karen.
and
Thank you for the
dozens
comment.
of things.
I appreciate your comment there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's cool. I just want to just get that out. There's stuff, you go to my channel, you learn more than you might already think that I know on that. Just check it out, That's
yeah,
all.
yeah.
I didn't mean that bad or
Oh,
nothing. It wasn't a bad statement or anything. But it is true that's something to be aware of. What was worse for me concerning that was that during one of my experiences while on board one of these craft, I'm being exposed to a type of virtual reality scenario technology. And then they're telling me in my mind, be careful. This technology has been perverted by lower vibrational civilizations to trick people. Then, not long after that, I read Carla Turner's book. That's back in the late '90s. There, Masquerading Angels, and she had another book, what was it? Oh, On the Fringe. But you know what happened to her was horrible. And she was being exposed to tons of VRST, virtual reality scenario technology, and was ruining her life. The beings were using it. She died. They just pretty much murdered her and her husband. I don't know if you're familiar with her, Dr. Carla Turner.
I was going to ask, what are you talking about? I don't know. I'm not familiar with this.
Absolutely brilliant. In fact, her book, not Masquerading Angels, but the other book she did, it was they turned it into a small a small miniseries on Taken. Her book Taken. They turned it into a miniseries on the Sci-Fi Channel. Had the guy from General Hospital on it, Steve Burton, Jason Quartermain.
You know your soap operas.
No, we're not going there. No, look, I only watched General Hospital. That's it. That's always since '78. But look, and when I was a teenager, I was one of those brothers that lied. I watched 90210, and I watched Melrose Place too. But anybody asks you watched that? Hell no, man. You know, but I was watching it. I ain't gonna lie to you. Anyway, I know. Outside of that, those soap operas would be Dynasty in Dallas, but that's 80s stuff. You can get me. You try to expose me. It's bad enough. People know I watched wrestling. That's bad enough. You got me thrown out for that.
Oh my gosh, this is having fun. But but somebody in the chat just said, well, she was another one who was silenced, and going back to talking about why Matt has not shown that video out to the public. People do get silenced for speaking out about this stuff. Yeah. And yes, Nick, what's up, Rod from Bear County Bigfoot? Thank you for being here. He said this is some next level stuff we're talking about, and that's right. This is. Barry always brings the heat too. With your knowledge and stuff.
I think you bring, you do so much stuff. It's so cool, man. I love working with you because you touch a lot of people. You work with different people and you touch on a lot of stuff. It's not just all one thing for you. I really like that. That's where it's at right now. I've got people starting to come to me, some of my own family members saying, they're watching people copying you and taking your ideas and not giving you credit. So I'm sorry you're going through that. I kind of knew you were gonna, but you're very original and you put in a lot of people may not understand much what people in your chat do now. But you put a lot of work into this. It takes a lot of time. You know what I mean? I think sometimes you should get like one of those basket things and get everybody's requests for remote viewing, because I get so many that I can't shake a stick at them all. The people that want me, I get emails, I get private messages. I had somebody in my own town tell me, hey, maybe you got Jessica Jones, look at this. Like, what, man? I was trying to walk through the spiritual fair, man. I'm like, man, I was, trying to get some stem patches, man. Stem cell patches. I was getting the cosplay. People wanted me to give you targets. But I think you could get one of those things where you just twist it and pull one or two of them out. You know what I mean? It'd be something, I think, the food.
Yeah. I need like a vending machine. Like you need to get like a remote viewing vending machine. Put in a quarter in it, pull out the lever or hit a button, and it gives me some coordinates, and we go to town on it. Yeah, there've been people in the chat tonight. I've seen y'all's comments saying that they have good remote viewing targets. And they want to know how they can get them to me. Oh my god, y'all! I'm so sorry. I hardly am able to check my emails anymore. They're so backed up.
Oh man, I've been sucking on that.
I know. Well, I need to figure out a system. I need to figure something out.
I quit seeing clients for about 6 weeks. I just kind of went to a little private thing. I just regenerating myself, and now I can't get caught up. And then half of them get filtered, and the email thing's a trip. So I'm gonna try to devote all night and all day tomorrow to answering, make sure I get everybody. Because some people really want services, and I'm honored that anybody wants to work with me. So I don't want people to think I'm some dick or jerk that won't, respond or anything. But I just kind of suck with it. That's all. But I'm getting better.
I know, Matthew. I know. I just opened up a new email. Okay, so and I just went through this week and deleted a bunch from my old email. So now I can kind of get emails there for the next week until they shut it down again. Because I get so many emails. Y'all have no idea how many emails I get every day. It's a sea of, I'm drowning. I'm just drowning. So I need some help.
Something I'll throw in there real quick. Muckyzilla, like that name.
Yeah.
Fungal things. I think I forgot to mention this when we were talking about the Moe, that those new robots, those fungal robots that they're making, they're also trying to design a type of self-replicating skin for these robots that is made of radiotropic fungus. which is the fungus that scraped off the walls of Fukushima and Chernobyl. And I mentioned on your show last time that they're also, and I'll try to put that on Facebook. I've got the patent and everything, that the article, that they're trying to actually use a self-replicating shielding for the International Space Station to protect the astronauts from cosmic rays. Apparently, the radiotropic fungus that uses gamma radiation to convert, melanin to convert gamma radiation into the growth cycle. Apparently, it's able to be good for self-replicating shielding as well for both these robots and for the International Space Station. So, well, actually, the robots would be a type of skin they're trying to develop for it. You know, these are things it's good for us to say apprised of. It's so weird to see that. I mean, look, you can't make that up. You know, it's like I was talking to my brother, man. He said, man, I know for a fact Jessica Jones wasn't looking up no mycelium robots. That's a new discovery you found. I said, yeah, it's new. That's what she saw in the data. And then when I start watching these things moving, people are moving them with like I said, it's like they're using to actually control the impulses of the fungal brain. And that way they can actually override some natural impulses by this. And you know, so to see those things moving and then to hear how the moai would move, the elder said that the old ones just asked them, will y'all move to the other side of the island? They got up and did it. But when you see those mushroom robots moving, you can kind of see like, okay, whatever we got there is something going forward. Because one of it was you to see who the moai were, but also how they were constructed. And you were seeing vortexes around these things, and then some type of almost laser. I would call it more acoustic scalpels almost, is what you were describing. Lasers and also what acoustic scalpels, which what is used to also take some of those cattle mutilations. That's new technology. Acoustic scalpels aren't real old. That's something newer they're doing that leaves no cauterized wounds when it does its thing. And you know, all those cattle mutilations, there's no cauterized tissue on any of those. So that's just, you know, food for thought. Anyway, you were describing something similar to that, and beings from another dimension making these things with that type of a technology. You had vortexes all around the pieces of rock, whatever it is, and they're making this and everything. They're also making it. It's these robots we're seeing now that's just been discovered is like the basic primitive what the moai were. They're like preschool moai. You see, I mean that's the trend. I mean, you can't just make that up, and that's not stuff that anybody's talking about right now. You tell me one other person that is saying the moai were fungal AI.
Right. No, I don't know. Your brother is right. I do not sit around looking at fungal AI. I've never done that. I'm busted. You're right. I've never even heard of that. And when I got done with that data, I thought, this is the weirdest. I mean, all these targets I get done, I'm like, this is so weird. You know, like that's my go-to. I'm like, what the heck is mycelium and AI got to do with each other? And you knew exactly what it was. And then you started sending me videos about it. Imagine how shocked I was. Like, I really was. I mean, I should never be shocked. I really shouldn't. But yeah, you can't make this stuff up though. Like
no.
You can't make it up. These are blind targets.
Yeah, it's just like some of these regressions. In fact, I'll answer that question. Cryptid, thank you. They're very nice to me. I gotta ask, is that a female or a male?
That's Mark Maycheck. That's a guy. He's been on my show.
Right. Cool. I've never been able to tell. I mean, I don't. That's cool.
Mark.
They say cool stuff all the time. Thank you, Mark. Great question there. I'll tell you what, you know, actually some of the regressions I've done, yes, I've come across that. A lot of times, sometimes they'll meet their child. There has to be like a contact made and something that is emotional for the child, I think. But I've heard of that several times. In fact, a lady I spoke with in Vegas, and not actually got to talk to her very much, Geraldine Ozako. I stuck with the pronouncing of names, you know, is Ozako, whatever it is. If it's much more than Bill Smith, I have a hard time with it, man. They ain't got any easy names for me. But anyway, she described that, and there was another lady on that panel that was sitting right next to me. And she's a little bit older. Gosh, she was a riot. She kept making me laugh a lot. I was trying not to laugh on those panels, but she kept whispering this stuff in my ear, and it was hilarious jokes, man. She was really down to earth. I can't remember Candace something. Anyway, she had babies that she said she'd met too in these genetic programs, to a point where one of the guys on the panel was all about the Venetians are going to save everybody, and there are no more negative abductions anymore because they're stopping it. And she's sitting over going like this, well, I have nothing but negative abductions. And she leans over to me, can we go get a beer now? And I was like, started trying to laugh, and he's making me lean on us. Anyway, but it was weird because I was sitting between her and Geraldine. I was like, wow, I'm sitting between these two hybrid mothers. I'm all getting elated, you know. But anyway, I've heard that many times actually, and I've also heard something, Cryptoville, that's something also on the side that I've had a person experience something similar to that I don't talk about publicly really because it will imply somebody else. Okay, but a lot of times these children in some situations are not to meet their Earth parents or have anything to do with them. Okay, and so there's different programs going on with all these different civilizations. It's a trip, you know, to where I don't disqualify any of it. Even what that Bashar and Darryl Anka is saying, you know, saying that they're the ones that are from another one of these types of grays that's a break off from us or something like that. I'm not discounting that at all. You know what I mean? Because we need a lot of help, and we've once been a part of this galactic trade thing and part of the galactic civilization, and it's starting to happen again. It's never really ended, but they've just sequestered it from us, and people are waking up. Excuse me. You know what I mean? So, and hey, by the way, to make sure I wasn't like, anybody think I was coming down on the person saying about they can make things different on the craft, but I threw in the VRST thing and Carla Turner, so you know that's kind of one of the things that tripped me out. I mean, I got tripped out. I thought my experiences were positive. Nothing bad happened to me, but I started thinking, what if I got screen memoried? When I started finding out more about that, that's where I learned hypnosis. I wanted to find out, was I suffering from anything like that? You know what I mean? Turns not the case, but fortunately, thank God. But I mean, that's such a serious deal with how we can be deceived. And more than that, to what that person was saying too, I've been around some of these non-humans physically, and they're able to do that without any technology. They can do it through the optical nerves, and they project a completely different environment to you or what they look like. You know what I mean? And they're doing it, and they're not even using technology or nothing. So that puts us at a disadvantage. It's like, man, it kind of sucks, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. So the question was for people who are listening in the podcasting world right now. Cryptoville was asking if Barry had heard of anyone getting to, I guess it's like to meet their children. I took the comment down already. If someone had been abducted and they had hybrid children, were they able to go meet their children, or what was the scenario, right, Barry? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was looking at that comment up there. That's the greatest comment. You know, I couldn't take my eyes off that. Sorry. The other thing, they're asking if I had ever heard of hybrid parents seeing their children on board craft or meeting them again, and I have several times. And under different circumstances, but many times. So that was a cool question. The other thing was about, they said about Dynasty. That was Robin M. What's up, Robin? My sister's name is Robin. I also watched the Colbys. I just want you to know that. I used to tear up some Colbys. The Greatest American Hero came on just before that, and no one seems to remember where he got his suit. It's interesting how a lot of people don't remember that. Do you? Or
No.
you just remember the song?
No.
Everybody remembers the song.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. But he got that suit from extraterrestrials on board this craft. They beamed it down to his. But when he got shot just before the show was over, the series was over, he got shot. He didn't have the suit on, and the ship came and grabbed him and put him in the healing chamber. And there was an AI on this craft and one being, and the being looked like a cross between like an iguana and a reptile, almost different type of beings, slightly reptilian. It was a very interesting deal, and it was saying that we had one of the paradise planets, and they didn't want us to destroy it, like their planet. That's why they gave him the suit.
Oh man, like their planet, huh?
He just lost the instruction book, twice. That's how it goes, though. Anyway, sorry. I don't want to go into TV shows.
It's okay. I think Sovereign, I don't know if Sovereign's joking or if he's being for real. It says, my thought on what the Moai were doing was actually grounding. Think about it. It's deep. They were in the ground. And it was deep. They did go deep. So that's funny.
Man, I got to be honest. That's pretty funny. But if you had that kind of went over my head, man, I'm on those corny jokes. That would have over my head. Like the one I got one for you real quick. Okay, so where do hamburgers go to dance?
The Burger Barn? I don't know.
The meatball.
The meatball.
Terrible.
Oh my god!
Terrible. Is that terrible? Anyway, sorry. we probably lost about 10 people listening right there. They're like, oh my god.
Oh my gosh. No, that's funny. Hey, now we all got a good joke. That's one my son can say. It's not dirty. I like that one. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we have some great comments, you guys. I know I'm a little behind on all the comments, but this has been a really fantastic show tonight. And man, I don't know. I mean, I've learned a lot, Barry. And you know what? Something that's sticking out right now is like you were talking about how when you you get into a craft and it's like a tiny little craft, but you get inside, it's like a whole gigantic space. And it's from another dimension. I don't even know if I've even thought of that before. Like, I don't think we've talked about that before. That is wild. That is absolutely wild. So it's food for thought. I'm going to be thinking about that all night.
Well, I mean, it's something about reason why I was attracted to things like that, but like Doctor Who, people trip out. It's a little box, but they go in, it's like infinite. And something that's different about technically Doctor Who was the original series. There was supposed to be people open up and go in there, but it was like a little hallway that then went to the other control room. And in reality, that's the way a quantum hologram would be. And Tom Baker explained it. He described to Leela how the craft is not in the same dimension. It's dimensionally transcendental. He takes like these two boxes, one's smaller, one's bigger. He said, which one's bigger? And she says, well, that one. He says, yes. Then he puts it like on the counter and then walks over towards her with the little one. Said, how about now? Which one is bigger? She goes, that one. And he said, but it looks smaller. She says, because it's further away. And he said, exactly. So if you can keep this here and have it there, the big one will fit inside the little one. And she looks at him, she goes, that's stupid. He goes, no, that's transdimensional engineering. A key discovery for my people. But in reality, when you start dealing with geometry, interspatial geometry, like hyperspace and things like that, it changes things a little bit. And we've got creatures and beings that are doing that on an average level. Something else I'm going to throw in before we get out of here, okay? Somebody had mentioned comments about, and you did too, about how much gets filtered out with serious stuff and real information like we're seeing right now. I so agree with that. I'm probably going to go live maybe Saturday, and I'm going to talk about Marcel Vogel. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't actually.
You're hip to Vogel crystals, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, I have due to this experience here dealing with this engine thing, I always had an interest in Vogel crystals, okay? Because they seem like they're cut with angles that are not natural. And I've seen lattices inside these crystals that have this bioluminescence that look odd. Okay, so this reminded me of that. So I always took an interest in who it was that cut those and why. The guy was a scientist named Marcel Vogel, and he died some years ago now. But, he was actually an analyst for IBM, an advanced analysis that did a whole thing with liquid crystal. And one reason our fluorescents get bright to the degree they do, and our TVs, the brightness, He had
Man,
something to do with that. Okay, so he's quite accomplished. But
interesting.
he got, and I remember this from when I was younger. Watch this. I just kind of had forgot. Okay, he got sent a piece of a ship fragment from a supposed Pleiadian ship from Billy Meyer. Okay, somebody that's affiliated with Billy Meyer. And I'll talk about this on Saturday, so I won't say much now. But I always had a problem with Billy Meyer. In '94, I went to my first UFO conference. There was a gentleman named Randolph Winters that was doing it. He supposedly spent a couple of years with Myers. And the pictures he showed, man, Jessica, it looked like some candy, some wedding cakes with little sugar balls on them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so disappointed because I wanted to see if these looked like the craft I had actually had experiences with, So a lot of that discredited in Billy Myers. Then he showed those girls and said they were Pleiadians. They were like from the Hee Haw show or something like that. You know what I mean? So so a lot of that stuff the organization got just scrambled. I think he probably had real contact and then had to make stuff up, but ran out of material. Point being, okay, Marcel Vogel, sorry, I'm getting too excited. He also was analysis for IBM. He took this piece to IBM and used those advanced microscopy on this piece, okay, very in depth. And it's unreal. And there's a video. I found the video. It's a video of him. This is 1979. He's finding all these things that the construction is a lot like how I've said on your show and on my channel, how the beings told me some of these ships are constructed. The materials being some of it part of being metamaterials, then that quasi crystals, the fungal component. He found all that in there. But most importantly, this is 1979 at the end of this very intense microscopy. It was however this was put down with the layers of this material, it was done by cold fusion. And still today we can't do cold fusion, which is nuclear fusion without heat. And right now we don't have the capability to do that still in 2025. And when I go live, I'll link that video in my chat or whatever, and people can watch. It's about 45 minutes long. It was from 1979. He shows the pieces, he goes through it and everything. And you know what? That piece, those two pieces, he said he had them in his pocket, wrapped up, transporting them somewhere, and they disappeared in his pocket out of the package. And then he started saying, that's not the first time that's happened to me. He said, I'm supposed to do an analysis on this and show people and show the data, and then they go back from where they're from. He said he'd had crystals too that he thought maybe weren't from Earth. And he did a examination of them, got the data, then they disappeared on him in a completely unlogical way, like beyond aporting. Spirits will take things and move things. That's called aporting. But this is something different here. Anyway, food for thought. That's just something that I bring that up. Sorry, I shouldn't be talking about this. I brought that up because the Billy Meyer thing got so screwed up with that crap that we don't see something like the real analysis of a real piece of material that man got. Because Vogel may have had the crystals, the crystal healing and liquid crystal, but he was not into UFOs, man. That was not his thing. But he got the material, and hey, anyway, so it was an IBM analysis of that piece. It's on. I'll recruit. I'll try to recruit you next time I go live. Maybe get you in there.
Hey, you know what? It sounds to me like the MIBs came and visited him and put that little memory wipe stick in his face and zapped him. That's probably what happened, and they stole it. That's what I think. I don't know.
That's an interesting little part of that. I don't think that's so much of a joke, that little device they have, and when they do that on that TV show, I don't think that's so far off. Yeah. To a point of where, when I had my first experience, I want to make sure something like that didn't happen to me. I was tripped out, man. And especially because the further away from the event horizon after it happens, the more it starts getting foggy, and the more the retention of memory starts fading. What happened? What? And it's a trip, man.
Well, that's why I always encourage everybody, keep a little notepad by your bed, okay? Because I know a lot of weird stuff happens while we're sleeping, and some people wake up at night. You have dreams. If you can remember your dreams, write your dreams down in the morning. Keep a dream journal, or just keep a journal by your bed with a pen and a notepad, or some some paper. And if you have an event, if you see something weird, write it down immediately. Like draw it. I'm a huge proponent on drawing down your experience, writing it down. You don't have to be a good artist, but every single time I've ever had an experience with an ET, I've drawn it so that I don't forget any of it. Even ghosts, I've always drawn those too. So just do it so you don't forget, because you will forget. You will forget. We may not forget all of it, but I mean, you might start forgetting little pieces of it as the years go by.
And that sucks. That's the part. That's the part of the whole thing that sucks, I think. You know, because I would like, somebody else was with me at the first 2-3 times when I was older, and then something happened to them too, and we're saying all this stuff. I was told this and that happened, and by the time I get back to town, about 10-15 minutes, you know, I'm gonna write all this down. I'm gonna get to a recorder. And so we're looking at each other, going, "What the hell happened?" And it was starting to fade, and then I started thinking, "Wait, did they wipe our minds?"
Boop.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But the truth is, the dimensional shift, the vibrational speed difference, it makes it hard to retain memory of the event when you're not like face to face with it. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
A lot to figure that out and accept it, but hey, it is what it is.
It is. Oh my gosh, Skip Baseford, thank you so much for that super sticker. That is so sweet of you, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you. Man, this has been so fun. This is a great show tonight, and just connecting the dots some more, and it just keeps getting better. Okay, all these shows keep getting better. It's because we're covering so many topics, Barry. You and I just alone, us together. We've covered so many topics that they're just starting to like all come together and connect. I mean, it's so weird. I never in a million years thought that these. Well, I didn't think. I'm not surprised now, but the egg-shaped UFOs, the eggs, the cosmic egg, and the Solway Spaceman have a connection. I mean, how wild is that? I mean, there are just like two random topics that we kind of put together. I put together today to go together to include that the egg UFO thing, and we've got connections with these cosmic eggs and the spaceman. So,
did you get all the data out for the cosmic eggs?
I did. Okay. I got it all out.
Something happened. I got excited somewhere in there, so I gotta make sure I didn't cut you off.
No, we're good. We got everything out.
Joke and chase off all your subscribers.
Oh my gosh! No, we're not. It's all good. No, we're in for the long haul, and we have been for tonight. It's been a long show. We did another 2.5-hour show. It's going on 3 hours almost. So I know I got to get my kid up for school in the morning. So we won't stay here all night, y'all.
I bet he's tearing up video games right now, isn't he? He's probably full play.
He's having fun. He's got his headphones on. He's good. So that's why he's been so quiet. Boondock. That's Corey, I think. He says hard-boiled cosmic eggs. Yes, hard-boiled over medium, whatever. Medium boiled, whatever.
They might be impervious to cosmic radiation.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of great. We've talked about so many different things tonight, man. I don't know. I'm going to go back and watch this myself. This is a good one.
You know, it's cool because I thought it would be too much information that we couldn't get it all out, but we did. Stayed pretty much on target, I think, except for my corny joke. But outside of that, we stayed on target pretty much the whole time. And beautiful, beautiful questions from your audience. I mean, they're still sharp. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
It's really true.
Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't get to everybody's comments and questions tonight. I try to hit them up, but it moves so fast. It moves really fast. So I'm in addition to trying to keep a conversation going and doing this, is really an art to it, Barry. I know you've learned it through doing your lives now. There's an art to it, right?
Oh, boy, I'm still learning, man. I mean, that's like each live I do is like one small step for humanity, because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Just the fact of being able to get on there and people can hear me, that is a major step forward. You know, I'm still psychologically traumatized for doing a 45-minute show that no one could hear me. I did something to me psyche.
Yeah. It was fun though. We were all there. We were there for it. We were just trying to get your attention. I was calling you and everything, but hey, you got through it. It's all good. You live and you learn. We've all had those kind of days. So
Well, that shows you what good people they are. They still stayed in the chat, even though they couldn't hear me.
More.
I looked over there and saw it. And I was like, man, it proves to you I don't have a time travel machine. I can't get that HDR unit to work, or I would go back. I would say, hey, man, within a minute, look at the screen. Yeah. Everybody was telling me.
Tim Mothman says extraterrestrials. That is an excellent point, Tim. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Excellent. I know my after show art, I'm definitely going to be in an egg. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, this is fun. You guys are awesome.
You know, one egg I never liked. Those
What's
damn
that?
Cadbury eggs with the
Oh, I
caramel
like
in them.
It's not
Rabbit,
caramel.
but it's a rabbit, right? And I never liked those things for some reason.
Oh my god! It's not caramel. It's some kind of white substance with a yellow substance.
It looks like snot. It looks like mucus. I don't like that.
I know, right? Yeah, it is kind of gross. Yeah, I don't really eat candy anymore, but yeah, that's not my favorite. I'll eat a Reese's or something that has caramel in it, but not those things. Those are gross.
Man, I try not to, but man, I like candy. I think it's great. Always since a kid, all the way to adult years, but I try not to. Too much sugar, but man.
Oh my gosh, I'm with Jennifer too. Head Trip says diabetes and an egg. I know. Yeah, Jennifer says I make some egg salad. I love egg salad, man. I hadn't had that in a while. Now, you know what? That would be a great thing for, like, if I had a restaurant, I would definitely serve cosmic egg salad. I definitely would.
Some egg food yum.
Oh my god. Cosmic egg drop soup.
Hey, that sounds like 10 Forward on Star Trek.
Cosmic
10
eggs.
Forward Cafe. Yeah, that's what they have there.
A bacon cosmic egg and cheese sandwich on Texas toast. Yes.
Warp core chili. Yeah, that's a 10 Forward.
That's funny. Yeah. Gosh, we're too creative. Too creative here. But yeah. Well, everybody, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Vera, do you have any final thoughts on, on our topics?
Just that it shows that I didn't expect for that target for the Soul Man to wind up being really some type of a chimera that comes from a chimera laboratory. I was hoping maybe I'd get lucky and it'd be a NASA thing, the robot, but I didn't know such thing. So that was just, I think, it was insight look unexpected to one of these laboratories that they're doing this stuff at, whether it be current, older, whatever, how long they've been doing it, but it's that thing again, and how prevalent that is when we start dealing with this whole cryptid thing and this whole phenomenon, these institutions of torture, whatever they are, labs, whatever they are. I mean, it's horrible. And it's really a major factor. I mean, this is coming up a lot in the targets just you and I have done. And sometimes it was not intended, believe me.
Yeah. I know. You always bite off more than you can chew.
Oh, a lot.
You do with these targets. And
I like the kid that gets all the food on his plate. It's real good, but the big old plate, and his eyes is bigger than his stomach. That type of a deal. Can't eat all the food on the plate.
I know. Well, at least you have the guts to go there, and you have the wherewithal. You have you just have the drive to, like, want to learn more about this stuff. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I mean, we're not learning this in our school books. Not that I'm in school anymore, but I'm just saying, this is not the kind of stuff that is going to be put out there.
What's cool is, your channel has turned into what I wanted mine to be, which is like basically a library, a database where people can go look and see, that my videos are all short, but there's enough information direct to the point. If you want to do your own research, it's right there for you. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing. You've got a bunch of different stuff. You're getting data. You've done so many different targets and things, and the other shows you're doing. It all ties together. It's a nice database. I've had a few people tell me that. I say, man, Jess has made a really good database. And we've got a lot of remote viewers right now that are people like me. Look, I took a workshop from one of the people at Farsight, actually. It was cool. I actually nailed the 2 targets they gave. But I wouldn't say, hey, I'm a remote viewer. I think it's what a lot of these people do. And I think it's a little bit insulting taking a 2-hour workshop and saying a remote viewer when somebody like you that's been doing it for years in different modalities. That just needs to be recognized in the community a lot more, I believe. You know, it shouldn't be so nebulous. You know what I mean? This is my opinion only, of course, which probably doesn't hold water, but
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Well, I think it's just that it's become so mainstream for everybody to say they're a remote viewer, and they don't, you know, they just assume it's being psychic. So it's been mainstreamed kind of, and without people really knowing what remote viewing is. But that's just my 2 cents. Okay. But anyways, it's all good.
It's kind of like people that claim to be psychic that make all these predictions that never come true. Yeah. But they got big platforms, so nobody ever says anything. Yeah, it just kind of goes away. You know what I mean? I'll tell you, my black ass say something don't happen. I guarantee you, everybody's gonna throw me out there. I'll be thrown out the bus. There'll be no buys, or let me go and say, hey, by the way, none of this stuff really existed. It's my personal intellectual material. Man, I would lose all credibility just like that. No one's going to come to
that. Oh my gosh.
Hey, thank you for coming. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you guys, if you want to see Barry's personal intellectual material, y'all go over to his YouTube channel, please. And y'all subscribe. I know there's a few people that said that they've subscribed to your channel tonight. So thank you guys for that. And Barry also has a Patreon as well. If you guys want to go subscribe to that, and Barry does offer services for like regressive therapies, hypnotherapy sessions. So Barry, they can contact you at your email, correct?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, I do hypnotic regressions, earthbound spirit release, also overeating, smoking, trauma release as well, negative identity, dissolvement also.
Okay. Awesome. Well, you guys contact Barry at barrylittleton13@gmail.com. For people who are listening in on podcasts, y'all can go find Barry there, and go to Barry Littleton on YouTube and Barry Littleton on Patreon. And yeah, Barry, thank you so much for being here tonight. I've enjoyed this show. I enjoy all of our shows.
Hey, thanks. Me too. I thought this was a good one. Good information, honestly.
It was.
A little mind-blowing, but hey, it is what it is.
No, it was awesome. And one more time for the people in the back. This is the picture. This is what one of the targets that I had tonight, and it was that Spaceman. And yeah, that was an entity right there for sure. There's something
before we leave, in all fun, you know, I sent you a message. We're discussing that one. And I was like, man, is it just me? Or is this extremely creepy? He sent me a message back. I felt like I was kind of being a punk or something. I was like, man, this is just creepy. I didn't expect it to be like that. You know what I mean? I thought it would be just something a little more scientific, robotic stuff or something, but it wasn't. It's something different.
It's pretty creepy. Well, the data makes it even more creepy. It solidifies it. So, hey, girl. All right. Well, Freya says we got to go, y'all. So everybody have a wonderful night, you guys. I am just really thankful for each and every one of you guys, and I also want to thank Cat Chaser and Skip for the super stickers tonight. Y'all are awesome, and thank you to my mods. Thank you to all my channel members. Thank you to all my channel members and to all the subscribers. And please hit the subscribe button if you hadn't already, you guys, and like the video and leave a comment after the show if you get a chance. Yeah, that would be amazing. I appreciate y'all so much. And I will be back on Saturday night, you guys. I've got Trey from Squatch Me Now as our special guest. We're going to have a blast on Saturday night. So please come back and see me then. And Barry, you said you're going to go live this weekend. When are you going live?
I was probably going to try maybe Saturday, I was thinking. Because I was, it's Friday or Saturday, but I was thinking maybe Saturday because I might release that video that I put in chat tomorrow. And then maybe just on to Saturday. If you'll be free, you know, I might do it, and just I'll try to keep it to an hour. Yeah.
Yes, I should be here this weekend. Next weekend, I'll be at the UFO conference. Speaking about UFOs, I might even talk about.
Is Matt going to be at that one?
Yes, Matt will be there with his video of the orbs.
Well, that's going to be fun. That's going to be cool, man. I'm glad people get to see that. That's great. And he's a good presenter too.
He is. Yeah, you guys come out and see me. That's going to be in Blue Ridge, Georgia. At the Fannin Family Connection, I think is the name of that. And in 11 a.m. February 1st up in Blue Ridge. It's beautiful up there. So, and it's for a good cause. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, y'all have a wonderful night. If you'd like to see my remote viewing data, it's in my Patreon. So shout out to all my members. Thank y'all so much for that. All right. Well, Barry, have a great night. I will see you guys on Saturday. All right. Bye, everybody.